Okay, we are ready to begin Soulcalibur 3 Chronicles of the Sword, possibly Soulcalibur percent. Starting in, ready for a countdown? Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so this is Soulcalibur 3, the fourth installment of the Soulcalibur series. The first one was called Soul Edge. Soulcalibur 3 came out only for the PlayStation 2, but it came with, it was the very first game to release Create a Soul function, which allows you to create your own characters, as I have tried to do, and of course name them. This special game mode was created specifically for the Create a Soul function. It's called Chronicles of the Sword, and as you can see, it's a kind of tactical RPG mishmash with Soulcalibur combat.
Decisive battle.
Your objective is generally in most Chronicles, the objective is to take the enemy stronghold. There are a few other special objectives in some tutorials, or in some Chronicles. This is the tutorial where they teach you everything.
Battle 1. Fight.
And this is the one name that we donated for, George. George the Dancer will be dominating the run with the spin to win strategy.
This really wasn't a fair contest.
So in the speed run, my objective, of course, is to get through as fast as possible. There are several different ways that you can do it. As you can see, fighting battles takes a long load time, so one of the main tricks I do is to fight as few battles as possible, or to set it up so that I'm fighting more people in a single group rather than loading up one battle at a time, because that greatly slows down the gameplay thanks to this wonderful loading screen, which is still moderately entertaining.
Final battle. Fight.
In the tutorial, none of the enemies move around, since it's a tutorial.
I'll take you on any
There are,
you want.
This game is built in a certain fashion. It's integrated with the actual game of Soulcalibur 3 itself, so everything you do in Soulcalibur unlocks things for Chronicles of the Sword and vice versa. So there are two widely different ways to possibly speedrun Chronicles of the Sword. One is with a totally fresh file, which you'd have to delete off your memory card every time you do it, or the way I generally speedrun, which is with a fully unlocked game. Every outfit, everything is earned and unlocked, so this gives me access to a lot of things, because as you play the game casually, you begin with only 6 classes, who each have access to only one weapon. And these weapons are not any of your usual familiar Soulcalibur styles. There were 17 special custom weapon sets designed for Soulcalibur 3, which are generally, low-key, cheap knockoffs of the main Soulcalibur weaponry and fighting styles.
Decisive battle.
But as you play the game, you'll unlock more styles for the classes that you use, eventually being able to even equip Soulcalibur styles, as my dancer here has Soul of Xianghua, and eventually unlock more powerful classes, which, because this is an RPG base, we do have levels and we do have stats.
Battle 1. Fight.
You can see the amount of damage I'm doing with my very powerful weapon
You might want to rethink this.
against these low-level characters. Do-do-do.
Battle 2. Fight.
Out of the way.
Sure, go for it.
You might want to rethink this. This really wasn't a fair contest.
Awesome, thank you guys. Thanks a lot. Okay, so normally on the 80% run of this game, it's pretty simple, like any percent in any other game. You're trying to finish as quickly as possible. By the way, this is a no glitches allowed game. This is a glitchless run pretty much by default, because I've not yet found any usable glitches in Soulcalibur 3. I do have my desktop audio muted. Let me unmute that if that will help out. Okay. Okay. So Chronicle 1 is a repeat of the first tutorial Chronicle, but things actually happen here, and we finally get access to a third character. Eventually we'll get up to 5. So, but now that the money has been met, we'll be running Soulcalibur %, which means that there are the 23 Soulcalibur characters that are the normal ones in the game are spread throughout the 20 Chronicles as optional super bosses, level 60 super bosses that are pretty difficult to defeat, especially early on. A lot harder than most of the units I'll be facing, and of course, you know, they're the Soulcalibur characters, so it's great to see them in cameos. So Soulcalibur % is a kind of minor upgraded challenge run that shows us a little bit more content, and makes me change up quite a few strategies, because most of the enemies, most of the Soulcalibur characters are way out of the way. So we'll be seeing that first in Chronicle 4.
Rethink this.
For now, storyline-wise, Soulcalibur itself generally takes place on Earth in the late 16th century, almost 17th century, all around the Eurasian supercontinent. But Chronicles of the Sword, they create a unique game world with this unnamed continent where there are 3 great nations. The Grandal Empire, the Kingdom of Dalkia, and the Haltese Republic. And we are a cadet in the military academy of the Grandal Empire, learning to be a commander of an army unit. And General Gerardo, the head of the entire army, is training us here. In Chronicle 1, we are in a match against Adelia, the sharpest woman at the academy. Just, you know, basic mock battle system here, so we're trampling all over her troops with ours. Okay, that was slightly unusual, but so we're going to be fighting her here. As you can see, most of my routing involves just fighting as few enemies as possible and taking as few towers as possible when it's feasible to do so. It's where the greatest amount of variety in this game comes. Now, one of the things that you can do, besides the character classes, which I'll start explaining in a little bit, the differences between those, is that there are also unit types, and there are 4 unit types in the game: infantry, cavalry, knights, and bandits. And they determine how fast you move on the map, how much damage you do to other units, and how much damage you do to strongholds. And bandits are the second fastest wandering around the map and the second fastest at taking down strongholds. Here's Adelia. Cutscenes are unskippable.
Good luck to you. Fight with all your might, as I will.
Battle 1. Fight.
So she becomes one of our best friends and rivals in the story, such as it is. The story isn't super great, you know, or super complicated, since it's a game mode within another game, but it's a pretty neat little RPG-esque
Battle 2. Fight.
scenario. And all of these characters in the game, with the exception of the Soulcalibur characters themselves, are possible to be created using the Create a Soul function in Soulcalibur 3. This entire game mode was just a really big demoing the whole concept out for the Soulcalibur series. But bandits are the second fastest wandering around the map and the second fastest at taking down strongholds, and the fastest cavalry are the worst at taking down strongholds, and knights, who are best at taking down strongholds, are the slowest by far. So bandit is a very nice mix of speed for that, for the very fastest for clearing out these maps. Unfortunately, bandits take horrible damage if you leave them to fight other units on the field, and they don't deal any damage whatsoever, so we definitely don't want to go doing that. But generally it's faster to go in, even with the load times, to go into Soulcalibur combat and defeat the enemies that way anyway. Whenever I meet an enemy unit on the field, as the tutorial explained to us, you can sit there and let the units just hit each other for a set amount of damage, or you can immediately start a Soulcalibur battle. One of the things that I failed at a little bit earlier, but I try to do a lot, is, as you can see, the game pauses when I give orders, so one of my speed checks is that I want to give as few orders as possible. And one of the caveats to that is, whenever a Soulcalibur battle starts, all of your orders of the people involved in that battle are canceled, so you have to re-give the orders. So I will often delay sending out other units behind if I know I'm going to encounter a unit on the way, so that then I won't have to reissue them orders after the battle is over.
Battle 1. Fight.
Now the different classes, you start out with 6 classes that are all fairly weak, and Dancer is one of them. Dancer is probably, along with the very worst classes in the game. They just have horrible stats all around. Their attack and agility are okay, but their total glass BB guns. A lot of other classes do more damage than these two do, and have a lot more survivability. They have none at all. But the reason I'm using a Dancer is because each of the 12 basic classes can use 2 Soulcalibur weapons, and the only class that can use the Soul of Xianghua is the Dancer. And you've already seen thus far what Xianghua's Spin to Win does to these enemies. It's the most reliable way to easily defeat computer opponents, so even though I'm a Dancer, it works out. So these two characters over here on the left are kind of interesting because you do have a set amount of pre-made units that have mini personalities and stuff, just base units in your army, and these two are potential people you can recruit if you defeat them. But since we're not, we won't recruit either one of them later on. In Chronicle 2 here, we're having our graduation test against General Gerardo. He is testing our mettle to see if we're worthy of graduating, and then we'll assume our own command. Thanks, Jinx. Thanks for watching. Shoutouts to my best friend, Jinx Black there.
You are strong. One day, you will succeed in life. Of course, only if you manage to defeat me. Battle 1. Fight!
You can see how much damage I'm taking from a high-level knight, which Gerardo is. That's one of the highest level classes in the game. They have better attack than Dancers do, and a whole lot more hit points and defense, so... But once I have the spin to win stun combo going, it's almost impossible for the enemy to get out of it, so... That was not the best fights, but as long as I didn't die, that's no time lost, so we're going pretty steady here. The rest of my characters I filled out with Sword Masters. Most of the time, all of the other smaller objectives are just roadblocks. However, there is something we're going to start seeing here in a couple missions where certain of these are more interesting than that because they have missions. Missions basically is a special effect that's in battles that take place when you're trying to conquer those strongholds. So I'll show those off in a minute, actually. So here I'm changing my unit type to infantry because this one actually goes faster when you go slower, in a very weird way. So for the most part, yes, since these most of these minor, smaller outposts are not significant, I try to ignore them as much as possible. And one of my main objectives, since it takes a while to get through them, is to basically avoid fighting them as much as possible. So the reason I'm infantry here is because that there's a special win condition in this map. I don't win by taking the main stronghold. I have to defeat all enemies. And they don't exactly cooperate with what I would like them to do, which is all pool together in one spot. So I have to take both of these routes to defeat them quicker. But there are 2 knights coming up towards the stronghold I'm approaching, and they are very, very slow. And by being an infantry, I will actually go through this character, and then I will take that stronghold just after they arrive and enter into it. And therefore, I'll fight all 3 at once and only get 1 loading screen, as opposed to, if I was a bandit, I would have to go in, take the stronghold, and then either run out and meet them and load up 3 times individually, or wait for those 2 to get to me and still not save any time. So it's actually faster to go slower here. So here's going to be our first Swordmaster fighting. Swordmasters are the ultimate class you unlock after you've mastered pretty much everything else in the game. And they can use any of the 17 special character weapons, but they can't use any of the 23 original Soulcalibur weapons. So I can't use them for Soul of Xianghua, but they can use the second most broken weapon in the game, the Katana.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Katana has other attributes that make it extremely powerful, amongst which is the weapon type. Weapons in this game, if you're familiar with the Soulcalibur games at all, you know that many special weapons have special attributes attached to them. It's not like increased attack power like you see in most RPGs. It's more similar to, say, Final Fantasy X, where weapons just have attributes that give you special effects, and that's the case with these weapons as well. The ultimate weapon for the katana has one negative attribute, in that it decreases my health slowly over time, but it increases my attack power by a large amount, continues to increase my attack power as the battle goes on, and it's a very powerful life-steal weapon. I get back life from the damage I deal. Yes, at these low levels, the damage is extreme, especially with these high-level weapons I'm using, and especially with Sword Masters who have unbelievable stats. When my Dancer is level 20, she will not have as good a stats as my level 1 Sword Masters do.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
So, because Dancers are so fragile and easy to kill, going with 5 Dancers, despite the power of Shanghua's spin to win, would make the end game really, really hard. And a couple of specific battles where I can't use the spin to win, extremely difficult. So, having 4 Sword Masters who are reasonably good, no matter the circumstances, ends up being better in the end. So, let's see. None of these have missions. You can see it says mission nothing on these ones, but we'll have a small mission at the beginning of the in the next scenario. Soon the missions are going to be very evident and very interesting. So certain of these defensive outposts in the way are major roadblocks because of the high-level missions that they have.
The battle 1. Fight.
You might want to rethink this.
Shoutouts to naming spending $1 to name one character George. I almost never go with the male dancer. I just don't generally like the look of a male character using Shanghua's moveset, but I decided since that was the name, that would be the new character, so we're going with it.
This is
Final battle. Fight.
You might want to rethink this.
For the most part, levels matter a lot less than they do in most RPGs, since this is a fighting game. But they do make they make battles a lot more interesting, some of them, than you would have in normal fighting games, where your hit points and damage you deal are pretty much set and near equal, just depending on weapon type. At these lower levels, everybody's relatively fragile, especially against my tactics and weapons. Later on, there will be significant differences. So the final stronghold we're coming up on, right here, has minus guard. Some of these missions aren't translated very well, but minus guard means as long as you hold the guard button, your health will decrease. So you can't turtle up in missions like this. Since my general tactic, even outside of speedruns, is all-out offense and no defense, it doesn't mean anything to me, of course, but it is something to keep an eye on under certain circumstances. Now, at low level fortresses have less hit points, low level strongholds, and also the missions there, like poison, which decreases health over time, will actually affect both characters on a low level mission. So if you're in a poison mission and it's level 1, both you and the enemy will be affected by poison. But in higher level missions, it will only affect, like, the attacker generally for poison, or there's one we'll see later, Cure, which restores your health over time. And if you have, and only the defender will be affected by Cure at a high level stronghold, but in a low level one, both characters will have the Cure effect and constantly get their life back, which can make the battles go longer. Not very much, though. It's not a very big effect.
You might want to rethink this.
So, in this scenario, we've gotten a, storyline-wise, we have been assigned our post, and we are in charge of a border post, and in the middle of the night, we're attacked by bandits. But these two bandits we just defeated, there's something interesting about them. They're dressed as Grandal soldiers. And this is the first major plot development in this story, such as it has, as we encounter the leader of the bandits, this mysteriously question mark named character. No, he is not an amnesiac expert. He's just a mysterious figure who we do not yet know. And is important enough that he refuses to die at this moment.
Don't hold back next time. I have absolutely no intention of dying here.
As you can imagine, we have not seen the last of question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Most of the Chronicles, there are 3 fights in the game, technically 4 if I want to say the final boss, that are... The final boss isn't immune to it, but he can one-shot me even before I get it off, so it's not safe. But there are only 3 characters who are totally immune to it. It's just something in the gameplay, the way the AI was designed, that there are certain moves that the AI is incredibly bad at blocking. Okay, here's Chronicle 4, our first chance to see a Soulcalibur character in action. And actually, we'll have you... Our great hero Ramza will be the one to take on Astaroth, the first Soulcalibur character. Now, as I said, there are 2 Soulcalibur characters per class, and so the Soulcalibur characters also have a appropriate class. And so Astaroth is a barbarian. That's one of the 2 weapons assigned to the class. Barbarians are one of the starting 6 and one of the better ones, but since they're one of the starting 6, they're one of the weaker classes overall. They have decent hit points and pretty good attack, but that's it. Here we will also meet one of our main enemies in the game, Luna, our primary rival, who will we encounter 4 times over the course of the run in battle, and even after that we haven't seen the last of her. And she greets us with a cutscene. There's only one time we fight her and we don't get a cutscene.
You're certainly a handful. I shall remember your name, as you are the only one who has provided a worthy challenge.
Battle 1. Fight.
Now, this near infinite combo has a couple of weaknesses. It's basically just what the enemy decides to do.
Battle 2. Fight.
Interestingly, if they decide to attack me before I get off the attack, or if they decide to stay on the ground instead of getting up, I will lose the combo, because I'll hit them on the ground and then they'll stand up right after and I have to restart it again. But if they get up in their usual timely fashion, like she was slow, but luckily that finished it.
Battle 4. Fight.
The moves that the enemies make in each battle it's kind of a mix of both. Some of their things are sort of scripted, but for the most part, it's pretty much RNG. Sometimes they will decide to be aggressive and start attacking immediately, and sometimes they'll wait for me to make the first move. So pretty much everything I do is intended to maximize my chance of getting off the first hits I need so I can set up my combo.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
Certain fights in certain places, ring outs are very good. The final boss actually is vulnerable to ring outs, and it's far and away the fastest way to get him. However, there is something about ring outs in Chronicles of the Sword. They are not instant victories. They are instead, they take half of the enemy's life and half of their maximum life, and then restart the battle from a neutral position. So if they're at half life or less, it's the same. But if they are at more than half life, they will have a small amount of life left. So that can be kind of annoying if I use my infinite stun lock to knock them out of the ring. All of a sudden, I don't have it anymore. That is a little bit of a safety strategy. Characters will respawn at the nearest level 3 or better or higher fortress to where they spot where they were killed. So if I lose against Astaroth, I will be able to try again against him. He's pretty easy, but I'm not guaranteed a victory. He is a level 60 barbarian and can probably kill me in 2 or 3 hits. Also, all the Soulcalibur characters are in their secondary outfits, which in Soulcalibur 3, many of them are very amusing, so get hyped for Astaroth the Hammerhead.
Final battle, fight!
You can see the difference in how long it takes me to kill him just based on his hit points. And he's worth a lot of experience.
Time before my sword is complete.
Okay, there's one other interesting thing about this upcoming the boss and the final stronghold here. As I said, pretty much all the characters except for the Soulcalibur ones can be recreated using the Create a Soul function. They just have various types of outfits thrown together, carefully designed. However, there are 2 characters who are unique in that they are very tall. And here is a whirlwind. You can see the movement on me. Higher level whirlwinds, this is a weak one for some reason. Higher level ones later on will move you around quite a bit. They can even blow you off the stage if you stand still long enough. Yes, there is a, for the most part, the Soulcalibur characters, being level 60 is mean. If they hit me, I take a lot of damage, but again, levels do not make nearly as much difference in this game as they do in most RPGs because it's still a fighting game. If you've got the moves you can do to stun lock your opponents, there is no fear. So I'm building up this stronghold to serve as a buffer against these guys who are going to charge in. This AI is generally pretty... the movement of the enemies on the map is a lot more scripted, and I can manipulate that through my actions. Some of them are a little harder to figure out, but one of the basic ones most of them have is, oh, the main stronghold's under attack, run back and defend it. So, I don't want to fight these guys, of course, but if they start engaging with me, I'll have to fight them instead of taking the stronghold, so I built that up so that they wouldn't be able to get through it in time to get to me and stop me from fighting the main stronghold. So here's Arion, who, just take note of how big he is compared to my character. In later Soulcaliburs, they do let you adjust the size of your characters, but in Soulcalibur 3, they don't. They're all basic. Females are slightly smaller than males, but otherwise, you know, everybody's the same. So take note of how big Arion is compared to my character.
Battle 1, fight!
And there you can see a cure effect on him from the mission on this stronghold. The stronghold missions are what most make the difference in the difficulty in this game. Ones like Cure and Minus Guard are annoyances at best. They don't mean very much. Later on, some of these missions are going to be really brutal, and I'll go into those as we meet them. So, as we mentioned last Chronicle, we were attacked by bandits dressed as Grandal soldiers. These yellow guys are Dalkia. The Kingdom of Dalkia has suddenly declared war on us. They claim that we attacked them first. And we realized that it was a setup from these bandits attacking with Grandal uniforms on, apparently. They've manipulated this war between us. And so we've gone forward. We're advancing on Dalkia now in our counterattack. We finally get a 4th character. There is usually only one way to win every Chronicle, but there are many ways to lose a Chronicle. Actually, no, you're the one I want. And one of the loss conditions, you lose if ever you lose all 5 characters. You also lose if Your main stronghold is taken, of course, and you lose on this chronicle if they take this bridge. So I have to have characters over here to defend against the enemies coming to take this bridge. And you can see here the difference between infantry and bandits for damage. My health bar is already starting to show black, and these guys are untouched. But I'm waiting for all of them to gather up so that I can fight them all at once. So Abelia, our one-time rival in the academy, has been assigned to our unit now, so she's joined us along with another new character. You get various characters that recruit into your party as time goes on, and they talk in the dialogue, but we skip it very quickly. The text dialogue is similar to, say, Final Fantasy IX, where two different inputs will both... One input fills a text box, and one input will skip the text box to the next section. And multiple keys can be used to... multiple buttons can input that, so by spamming two buttons at once, I pretty much instantly skip all the text.
Battle 3, fight.
You can see that there's a lot of generic soldiers who are in a set uniform for a particular kingdom, and each different kingdom has its different unique uniform, which is kind of a cool touch. But then there are a bunch of named characters who are generally higher level, your more important mini-bosses. So there's another reason, however, why I have a second character over here, and that's because Chronicle 5 quickly introduces us to two more Soulcalibur characters. We're going to be encountering Ivy in a minute, and over here on this far away stronghold far to the right is Cervantes, the beloved evil demon undead pirate, cursed pirate of Soulcalibur lore. Now, Soulcalibur characters are just standing around when they never leave their stronghold. They never move from a spot they're placed in. So that's the convenient thing about Ivy standing in the open is if you're playing casually, you can beat her pretty easily by throwing one unit at her at a time because she won't regenerate health. If you're inside a stronghold, you will regenerate health. If you're not inside a stronghold, you won't, period. Even if you have, say, a health regenerating weapon. You have to, if you have a health regenerating weapon, you need to go into battle, or otherwise you need to go into a stronghold to recover life. So, the characters that are in, there we go. The characters that are in strongholds that are Soulcalibur characters are a lot harder to beat because if I don't bring enough characters to defeat them in one go, by the time I get there to try them again, they'll have recovered all their health. So there's Ivy in her secondary outfit. Rose thing, whatever. At least all you can say about it is it isn't nearly as provocative as her standard outfit. She's a pirate, I guess, because some of the classes they give the Soulcalibur weapons and characters to are kind of questionable. I can only guess that they made her a pirate because her father is a pirate. Indeed it is. I actually, unfortunately, you were doing your run Saturday morning, so you didn't get to see it, but I did all Final Fantasy Tactics characters then. So I decided that I figured you'd like to see Meliadul as well.
Final battle, fight.
Did I do it? Some of these lines that the custom characters spam out are great. Almost.
It looks like I'm just too strong for you.
Okay, not that person. This guy's the bane of my existence. He comes charging through to fight me before I reach the stronghold instead of just guarding the stronghold like a good little boy. I am hoping that it will be an RPG limit break next year, yes. We will see. If you aren't good enough, yeah. I am not good enough a lot of the time. It depends on how the situation goes. Usually I can react well to when they try and set up for a ring out, but sometimes sometimes I just can't do anything about it and I'm bad. There's a lot of variance in this game just based on how well I perform compared to thing. And yes, you can ring yourself out sometimes too, especially with these Soulcalibur weapon styles are really wild, and there are a couple of attacks, and I've showed off one of them with the katana that you can ring yourself out with pretty easily. It's pretty funny sometimes. But they have a lot of jumping around crazy moves like that that you can ring yourself out with if you aren't careful. And I am really hoping that Soulcalibur 6 will release something like this for custom characters, because they've never had anything like it since Soulcalibur 3. Even a Weapon Master mode where you create a character to go through a story like that would be a really big improvement on what they've had in the last couple of Soulcaliburs. One of the funniest things that happens that might have been a small bug of some sort was when I was fighting Talene in this game, and she jumped out of the ring on her own, an AI-controlled Talene, and then she was standing on the air for a second, looked back at me, looked down, and then suddenly fell out of the ring and was hit by ring out. There was seriously like a second delay where she did this quick double actions as if she were a Looney Tune character. If ever that happens again while I'm streaming, I'm definitely saving that clip and posting it as a highlight on my YouTube channel forever. But I would love to see this particular game mode in Soulcalibur 6. As I say, any kind of custom character mode would be good. I really love Chronicles of the Sword, which is why I've put so much time into it, and why it's become my personal pet project speedrun. And I would also like to see an HD version of this game on either Xbox Live or even Steam that allowed you to do a little bit more with it. Yep, exactly.
Final battle, fight.
It seemed like in Soulcalibur 5, the only thing they really had a purpose for your custom characters was online play. So you could show off your custom created characters to everybody you were fighting against. Neat. Wow. And Soulcalibur 4 had the Tower of Lost Souls, but that was an incredibly, horribly difficult grind fest where, since your equipment actually determined your stats in that game, it meant that you didn't get to equip what you wanted. You had to equip whatever made you look good, whatever gave you the best stats. Okay, here's Cervantes, who instead of wearing a usual pirate outfit is wearing some sort of golden armor? Golden helmet of Fabrino.
Battle 1.
Cervantes is pretty tough. Pirates I didn't mention, but they are a higher level class. They're about the second tier after the 6 initial guys, and at that point they all have really good stats. And Cervantes has a very good AI as well, and you can't ring him out because we're in a cage. So he's, you can see how much defense and hit points he has at level 60. I'm chipping away at him here. Luckily, Katana shoulder charge and life drain is pretty strong, and I have a backup character if I really need it. Yeah, I made some pretty ridiculously looking characters for max stats on Soulcalibur 4. I don't need to do anything with them. Okay, so this is a unique chronicle as well. The boss was Rowan, who we fought over here. He isn't. It's the only time in the game where there isn't a boss waiting in the final stronghold. These guys that I'm fighting are only here because... Oh no, my guys are getting killed. That's funny. This is actually good though. It isn't often that this happens, that they go after those characters. Usually they can head to defend the main stronghold. I'm not sure what I did that triggered them to act differently, but that means it's 2 less people I have to fight. But when I play this casually, I generally play 100%. I take all strongholds, defeat all characters, and so since I don't want to end until I'm done, this is the very last stronghold I take, and by then I've defeated everybody on the map already. So it's very anticlimactic to take an empty final stronghold in order to win the Chronicle.
Battle 2. Fight.
You might want to rethink this.
Okay, that's Chronicle 4 down, 5 down.
Anytime you want.
Yes, you could say that this is I'm definitely exploiting the enemy AI with the Shanghua spin to win. But hey, if they didn't intend Shanghua to be used in the game, they wouldn't have given you the ability to make your custom characters use their skills. Besides, it's actually more balanced than you think when you have to deal with the dancer's horrible stats. I'm having a really good run so far, actually, but the dancer can get killed at almost any time by almost any character if things just don't break right for me. Here I'm once again delaying my character's movement so that I don't have to issue commands again, since that pauses the game. And when I'm really focusing on cutting down frames in milliseconds, of course, I try to not overshoot any castles at all, because again, when everything's paused in giving orders, the more time I spend, even milliseconds, going past the stronghold that I'm going to stop at, the more time I waste. An unexpected death, depending on the situation, can lose anywhere from... depending on the situation, it can lose anywhere from about a minute to 14 or 15 or more minutes, if it's a death that loses me a chronicle.
Rethink this. Don't hold back next time.
Yeah, give me my character. Okay. Yeah, the huge variety of weapons, basically, or being a specific class, meaning you could choose between several different weapons. So here we're fighting Luna again, and her Klesser Pemdo. I have no idea what Klesser Pemdo means, but it is the name for the her four basic bodyguards, second in commands, whatever. And they each are associated with an element, which Loopy here is associated with fire, and when they're defending strongholds, those are tied into their weapon, their missions. So as you can see, her lance is glowing with lightning. If you're familiar with Soulcalibur parlance, that means her attacks are guard break. And so this is all guard break. All of her attacks will inflict guard break status if you try and block them. It means very little when I'm an all-out offensive crazy person. Yeah, my last couple runs that I did in practice for this, I messed up on at least one chronicle each and lost the chronicle and lost anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to be doing extra safe strats this time around. Let's see. Yeah. So Lizard Man is our Soulcalibur character here, by the way, here in the middle. He is an assassin. I guess they had nowhere else to put him and no one else who really qualified as an assassin. So an assassin with a horrible axe and shield crawling on the ground. He can be reasonably difficult. He has few hit points because assassins have low hit points, but they do huge amounts of damage, and so he can really 2 or 3 shots. And he's got a pretty good AI for blocking. Luckily, I get a lot of health back thanks to Mirasame. He's not using too many big attacks, at least. There we go.
It looks like I'm just too strong for you.
For most deaths, the later on in a chronicle it happens, the less problematic it is, because my characters will regenerate, but I lose time from them having to regenerate. So one of the things I'm doing here to manipulate is, as I said, each of these Cluster Pemdo have an element associated with them, and so Eiji here is of Earth, who has Quake, and Hildo has Ice because she's Water. And those are 2 very annoying missions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to avoid them entirely. I'll see them later on. But I would prefer not to see them right now, so instead I'm going to take out this side where we have easy people like Elua here, who is of Wind. So she has a minor whirlwind in effect. It's hardly even an annoyance. You barely notice it. Except that it made me miss right there. But it does very little. The amusing thing is that the Cluster Pemdo are some of the lowest AI sub-bosses in the game, and they don't really work that well with the missions that they have for the most part, so with one exception that we'll see much later in the game. Now, one of the objectives here is to defeat not only Luna, but all her Cluster Pemdo, so I can't avoid fighting those 2 people, but thanks to this strategy, I get to fight them on my terms. By attacking the main stronghold, I'm triggering their AI to decide they need to go back and defend it, and so voila, they're retreating to defend the main stronghold, so I'll get to fight them here all at once with Cure, instead of one at a time in their particular strongholds. I think I've consumed at least 4 ounces of water. I have not even looked at the timer.
Decisive battle.
Whenever you have a boss that has a cutscene, they will automatically be the first person you fight. Otherwise, they're usually relegated to last. If you lose and come back later, the cutscene won't play again,
So we meet again.
unless you totally have to redo the chronicle.
Now, it's time to collect on your
And
debts.
then,
Battle.
but if I was to like attack with 3 people and lost them all and then tried again, they would eventually, I would probably fight Luna last, and there would be no cutscene for the retry. So here is Eiji next, probably. Nope, Hildo.
Battle 2. Fight.
Sometimes there's a set order that the characters will fight in a game battle, and sometimes it's random, and sometimes there's something 99% of the time it does it, and then once in a while it changes it up. I think this is actually Eiji last most of the time. I just couldn't remember.
Battle 3. Fight.
When your characters are fighting, you're the first one in the list, so generally your main character will always be the first one to fight, except for one exception in the entire game, which is very odd. But who it goes to next is usually the bottom of the list rather than next in line. It's just kind of one of the weird quirks in the particular game. So we've dealt 3 grievous blows to Dalkia. We're pretty much dominating them. But now things get more complicated because the Haltese Republic has suddenly decided to declare war on us. And so our unit was sent to, George's great unit, was sent to fight off the Haltese Republic, and Abilia was left in charge of the troops conquering Dalkia. So she's been left with all the glory, and we have to do fresh work. However, General Gerardo, who's like supposed to be the general of the whole Grandal army, has decided to join our unit as a soldier under our command. Okay, sure. Good to know that the Grandal military is so laid back that the head general of the whole army can be under a brand new captain who hasn't even served for a year. Playing casually when you're not MSKain characters, he's level 15 and comes in. My dancer who's done most of the fighting is only level 15, so a level 15 knight is a pretty strong character for this portion of the game, and a pretty big help. So this is a kind of amusing chronicle because of just how it's built and how the AIs are designed. Ramza's fine. I'll fight with Ramza. So heading straight down the middle is, as you might imagine, the fastest way to victory. However, you can already see that several units are coming around and converging on me, rather than charging towards my stronghold. So one of the things I want to avoid is that... Yes, that is very true. Very true, Faded Outline. But, so I'm going to be taking advantage of this AI of theirs. Wait, I suffered a loss? How did I... Oh, that's right. When Ramza was actually killed in battle, just on the bridge, yeah. Those victories and defeats on the field also count.
Don't hold back next time.
Alrighty, so now's where things... This is a little bit of tight commanding that I need to do. George, go straight forward. Actually, Melia Duel, you're fine. You go fight Rock. Everybody else wait a second. Fortify up. Once again, fortifying so that these enemies who are coming after me won't be able to get to me and force me into more fights.
In final battle, fight!
My usual initial setup that tends to be pretty reliable for Soul of Xianghua is her charging forward A plus B attack. I can't remember what the official name it is. I don't know the official name of most of the Soulcalibur moves. But she does a slight sidestep and swings around an attack. It's a little bit slow, but that sidestep is pretty powerful because a lot of enemies will try and hit me with a basic vertical attack as I come charging in, and so the sidestep goes around it. Here's the Rock. He is a gladiator. He also has an extremely... yes, being beaten on the main map does count to that stat. I was trying to figure out when I died before I realized that. But Rock has a very amusing outfit. Say hello to Mr. Woolly Mammoth.
Battle, fight!
Did I do it? Did I do it?
I don't know why Rock is a gladiator. I would have painted him as a barbarian. But they decided to make him a gladiator. Gladiator is higher level than a barbarian.
Did I do it?
A much tougher opponent, but Rock is one of the lowest AIs in the game as far as I've ever played.
It looks like I'm just too
As long as
strong
I've
for
played
you.
this game, I've rarely had trouble with Rock. You see how many prime opportunities to try and ring me out he passed up there. Did a good job of sidestepping me, but just was staring at me instead of following through. And that's where RNG in the run comes. You know, sometimes they will take hold of that chance and use it. So now, Benny Hill-like, I'm going to have lots of guys streaming in towards the middle, trying to chase me down, and I'm just running away, laughing in their face. Next up is going to be our first encounter with the wonderful, wonderful mission known as Ice. And if you've played any video game with ice physics, you know to hate it. You know just how bad it is. And that's what we're going to have to be dealing with here. Now, some of these soldiers are going to get bored and wander away, so I didn't bother fortifying that one behind me. I should be okay, depending on how many come. 2, 3, one's a knight. Maybe I'll fortify this guy up. I might not need to. We'll see. I can do other strats instead if I really need to. Naturally, I want to fortify as few times as possible because that, like, issuing all commands pauses the game.
Battle 1. Fight.
Whee! Look at a slide around. So much fun. You can slide off the edge really easily with ice physics up. That's the worst part. Whee! Haha! Technically, 4 and 5 did allow you to create totally custom characters, so you could make men with Soul of Shanghua, for instance, but they don't really have a class. You can basically, after you make a custom character, you can actually give them any weapon you like. Whee! First death of the game. First of real death. This is actually where I often expect to, I have a good chance, where I have a decent chance of dying for the first time. So this is going to slow me down a little bit, but not severely. The best way to deal with ice generally is throws. 2 deaths would be quite bad. Yeah. Also, since a lot of the moves that I use are aggressive running type moves, it leaves me extremely vulnerable. I have to totally change my playstyle in order to deal with ice most of the time. Hopefully I can build this up. I think I will now that I've lost a character. Good, I got a chance. Just made it in time. You can't fortify a stronghold when a character is attacking it, so that's why I'm concerned about time here. I just made it. She just started hitting it, so now it's going to be harder to take, and also George will respawn here if he gets the chance. It doesn't really make a lot of difference here, but for safety's sake, I want to not lose any more characters here. I had a lot of mic troubles before starting, so I'm sorry if I'm quiet. I'm trying to be louder, but this backup mic I've got is not in a certain situation. Okay, so Half has survived, and he's killed off camera by this character named Mooncap, who suddenly appears. And yes, the mission is glue. That pulls me in. Glue is very annoying if you like to play Nightmare and Astaroth, who have huge ranges, because you're constantly getting pulled towards the enemy. With my weapon styles and my fighting style, I really don't care. I like to be as close as possible anyway, so there will be other troublesome ones, though. So Mooncap is an interesting character because she has a lot of hinted at backstory.
This really wasn't a fair contest.
But apparently, Mooncap was a noble of the Haltese kingdom before the commoners overthrew the nobles and turned the kingdom into a republic. And now she's joined a group trying to wipe out the Haltese Republic. All of a sudden, these other people appear and they start wiping out the Haltese. And because we are morally good people, we decide that we have to try and do something about this. We are going to save all the poor Haltese soldiers. Yeah, I'm going to try this. So this chronicle has a new unique loss condition. where you lose if 3 of these Halti soldiers are defeated. These Halti soldiers are just sitting around the map, and if you let them be, enemies will come up and fight them like so. They'll chip at each other for a while. Their stats are horrible, so they'll never win. And if you let 3 of them die, you lose the Chronicle. However, one of the things I've discovered while speedrunning is that a lot of these enemies don't care about the Halti soldiers. They only want to come after you. So I'm trying various things and still working on trying various things to manipulate the AI to reduce the number of people I have to fight. If I can get them fighting Soulcalibur, the Halti soldiers instead, I'm not going to lose 3 before I finish this run, this Chronicle, and that's it. So this is Soulcalibur percent of Chronicles of the Sword. I have several different Chronicles of the Sword speedruns. In Soulcalibur percent, I have to fight the 23 Soulcalibur characters that are spread around the map, in addition to finishing the game normally. I'm not going to make it that far. What am I doing? Yeah, it was a donation incentive to do Soulcalibur percent instead of any percent, and that was met at the beginning of the run. Thank you for the generous donations for this cause. So it greatly changes mostly, they're difficult fights, but the biggest way it changes the game is in forcing me to greatly change my strategies in how I do each Chronicle, because they're always in out-of-the-way places, or most of the time in out-of-the-way places, completely opposite of where I normally want to go. I don't know who you are, but you'll go there. Looks like that was Atari. That's fine. Shout out to my 2 sisters in chat watching. Thank you for your support. Hey Zach, thanks.
Final battle, fight.
Alrighty. Boom. So, Heron has Cosmos hair. She's one of 2 characters, I think, in the game who does. They're actually one of the ultimate armors you can unlock, or at least rarest armors you can unlock, are actually Type X equipment for females, which if you put them on, will make the character look like Cosmos from the Xenosaga series, and other Xeno games from what I understand, though I've only ever played Xenosaga on the PS2. None of the Type X equipment, because it's weird looking, is used by the custom characters made for this mode, except for the Cosmos hair, because really there's a lack of decent hairstyles in this, especially long female hairstyles in this game. It's one of the few things I don't like about Create a Soul and Soulcalibur 3 is that there aren't a lot of good hairstyles that I really like. Yes, I do know the move you're talking about. That is actually one of the other ones that I use in certain modes. Like if I do a fresh file and I don't have access to dancers with Soul of Changhua or Sword Masters, I usually have a ninja as one of my primary classes. There are numerous other attacks on various classes that are similar to Shanghua's Spin to Win. The AI just has real difficulty with blocking them. It's just that the Spin to Win and the Shoulder Charge are the most abusive ones. They're the ones that set up for the most fairly reliable damage. So the reason one character is up here is because the Soulcalibur character Setsuka is here. She also has glue. Setsuka is a ninja. Her secondary outfit's kind of nice because it gives her blonde hair and makes her actually look like a foreigner. In her backstory, she's supposed to be a foreigner who is a lost orphan child foreigner who is found in Japan and raised by a swordsman. But in her Japanese garb in her primary set, she looks a little bit too Japanese herself. This shoulder charge is a very good one. It's just B plus K with the katana. It's generally my most reliable. And Setsuka goes down easy. Ninjas are relatively good for the early game classes, but pretty weak overall, so even a level 60 Setsuka, especially when she doesn't do anything, goes down real fast and easy. Okay, he's not going to make it to the main stronghold in time to do anything, so he's just gonna sit there. I think I usually get around him anyway, though, so that probably isn't all that great. Oh well. I'm always, on some of these ones that are more difficult to figure out an optimal strategy for, I'm often doing things on the fly, even in the middle of a marathon. Although this is a strategy I go back and forth from, but I'm not sure how much yet difference it makes. Here's Mooncalf 2. She has Cure this time instead of Glue.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
That random dialogue always throws me off. It's after a certain number of characters have been defeated, Gerardo and one of your other soldiers, Yuri Dice, will have a brief conversation about how we're confused by who our enemy is. These Maleta people who have suddenly appeared and start wiping out Haltise. They shouldn't have the power to do that, because apparently Maleta is just a province of Haltise, but they suddenly have this big army and they're claiming all of Haltise for themselves, and because we're invading Haltise, we're therefore invading them, so suddenly we've started war with them. But we decided to rescue also. We probably could have retreated out of the country and been fine, but because we're bleeding heart people in this storyline, no chance to make choices of our own, we actually decide to save them, except for the ones we let die. 2 of the characters are generic. 3 of them can and will actually join you if you rescue them. Canon there, who just died, I would normally rescue in a game I was trying, but I didn't this time around. This is the Chronicle where I learned that bandits are really good, because the first many times I played this casually, I was trying to rescue all the Haltise soldiers, and I couldn't do it. And then I switched to bandits, and suddenly they were fast enough moving around and destroying strongholds to reach all of the units to save them. Here's Heil 1. Heil is a very annoying boss. His all guard break isn't a problem, but he gets subsequently worse each Chronicle we fight him. We fight him 3 times.
This really wasn't a fair contest.
Slow holds this relatively regularly, semi-annually, I think. So he has another one planned for February, so keep an eye out for the next one coming up before then, and you can submit for it. So now Gerardo talks with the leader of the group's Alien, who joins your party after this and talks to you even if you let her die. It's pretty amusing. And there's the Discord you can join to learn more about the NGA marathons. Okay, this is an annoying chronicle because we have to defeat all enemies. However, it's a landmark chronicle because it's the first time we get to use all 5 characters. Hooray! I spent a long time trying to develop an optimal strat for this chronicle because of the fact they have to defeat all enemies. Their AIs are really hard to manipulate. Some of them seem to be almost semi-random. So, finally, I've hit upon this strat This is also a unique chronicle because it's the only time you'll fight two different colors. The Kingdom of Dalkia has allied with Mileta now in order to fight against us. And guess who's leading the charge from the Dalkian forces? That's right, it's our best girl, Luna. She's brought her Cluster Pemdo with her, too. It's the only time we will fight the Cluster Pemdo outside of a fortress. So we'll have to deal with them now. Of course, under the undertone of this is, wait, Abilia was supposed to be finishing off Dalkia. We've just about conquered them. If they can send troops up to reinforce Mileta, that means that she's not doing so hot anymore. What a useless commander. We have to clean up everything ourselves.
This really wasn't a fair contest.
Okay, so, a lot going on down here. Not else to say about that for now. We'll have to fight Hyle again here. This is one of the few opportunities, since you have to defeat all enemies instead of taking the main stronghold. This is one of the few opportunities you would have to use a very powerful mission like all unblockable. All attacks cannot be blocked, obviously. Sounds really bad, but isn't that bad for me. But if I take that stronghold before all the enemies get to it, I can then defend it and use all unblockable. However, that's kind of slow because I'd rather fight them all there if I possibly can, so I'm not going to be doing it. There are no Soulcalibur characters to fight on this Chronicle either. It's been the first time in a while, I think. But instead we get Luna and the Cluster Pemdo. Let's see if the order goes as normal. You start with... Let's see if I can remember the order. AG? It goes in almost alphabetical order. Oh, Eloy.
One, fight.
Did I do it? Did I do it?
One of the things about the game is that movement on the map is actually divided into squares. Although the characters seem to be moving by pixels, there are squares that they are entering and leaving at all times.
Battle 2, fight.
And oftentimes, if you see me charging towards another character and I'll suddenly stop and wait for them to reach a certain point before, and then we'll start hitting each other, that's because I can't enter the square they're in because they're entering it, but they haven't fully entered it, so they're still moving. And you can't start a battle until you both are actually fighting each other, until you both entered your respective square. In addition, if I try to start a battle with multiple people at once, I have to make sure that they're all in the square and actually fighting. If I do it early, I won't fight them all, and then I'll have to load up other things. That's a small time loss I occasionally do, a little misstep in that.
It's over.
Battle 4, fight.
Did I do it? Did I do it?
Generally, Luna and her Cluster Pemdo are free experience.
Final battle, fight.
Did I do it? You can't get me. Goodbye. Slowpoke. Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it?
That's actually went, even with those last few hits from Loopy, that's better than I've done in those fights, though, the last few runs. By get a good time in, you mean the one where I can save time, but it's the absolute hardest? It's probably Chronicle 11. Because if I have a super awesome fight against AG and defeat her without losing anyone, that automatically saves me a minute, but that only happens like once every 20 runs. She is so difficult, and I'll go into that when we see her. Anyway, now. I'm delaying movement there once again to give time for some of these other guys to make it into the stronghold before I take it. The next Chronicle is one of the bad ones, especially on SC% because Sung Mina is the worst Soulcalibur character to fight, and I'll go into that one next Chronicle. It's a pretty bad one, but I'd say 11 is still the very hardest to get a really good tie in. 10 is close.
Battle 1. Fight.
11 is a short Chronicle overall, and that's one of the reasons why losing a minute to losing one character can make a huge difference in the time. Especially when I can only save that character once in a blue moon.
Battle 2. Fight.
The worst character to fight? Worst character to fight is actually Strike, the final boss. They gave him enough hit points and attack power that all of my cheese strats don't guarantee victory. Even though he has nothing particularly nasty in a mission about him. But Gerardo is a close second in Chronicle 15. We'll see that when we get there.
Battle 4. Fight.
Come on, go out.
Final battle. Fight.
Did you really expect
I generally have a problem doing nothing, pretty much whenever I'm doing anything at all. So after battles, I often spam things. I love having a taunt command. Unfortunately, there's no taunt command for the regular Soulcalibur weapon, or the special Soulcalibur weapons, so only Soulcalibur characters get taunts. So I just continue to hit them. Yeah, Last Chronicle's pretty bad, but I have a very good consistent strat for it. Only the final battle is has the biggest variance, but it's not super terrible. I generally have some pretty good... I can generally take him on in a decent amount of time. Probably would be if I wasn't running 16:9 to fill up my screen.
Final battle. Fight.
4:3 would put more screen on the... would actually put more screen on the outlay. But on this lower resolution, it's not a super big deal anyway. Now we're just waiting for the end. Mostly we're waiting for this guy to arrive so we can finish off the final stronghold. He's a knight, so he's so very slow. Oh, no, I wasn't slow enough. Oh well, I'll get to fight with all unblockable. That's kind of fun. So this is going to be probably about a 30-45 second loss. I should have backed up a character really quick to ensure that I wouldn't take it, but whatever. Fighting with all unblockable is fun because your enemy can't block. You can do whatever you like.
Battle 1.
Having an all unblockable doesn't mean anything when you strike first.
Did I do it? Did I do it?
That is a move that can self-ring out if you try it too hard. Too close to the edge.
Battle 2.
Hi-oh!
Did I do it?
Come on. Hyle's weapon actually makes it really hard to ring him out. It's designed to cheese some ring outs. That's just one of its attributes. There are a few weapons like that. Hyle's is among the most powerful. It's really, really hard to get a ring out on Hyle. One of the interesting things about the weapons in this game is that most of your very important named characters like Hyle and Luna have a unique weapon of their own that after you defeat them, you get the weapon. They're usually not great weapons. They have like 2 good attributes and 1 negative attribute. But they're I'm gonna have a fight with unblockable. But they're still pretty interesting. A lot of them look really cool. They add a lot of variety to the weapons that you can wield. Block me! Oh, you can't! Fortunately, you're too weak to really appreciate the power of all unblockable. Kind of glad I messed up, though. It's just neat to show that off at a marathon. Me fight your character fighting with all unblockable. It's great. Okay, Chronicle 10. One of the least favorite. Several people have told me this is their least favorite. It is up there for me. Especially on any percent, it's actually not too bad for me, but SC percent, I hate fighting the Soulcalibur character here. Also, let's see what kind of random some really random RNG. RNG is random by default, but some really random number generation in this map. There are two characters outside of the central stronghold who take particular actions, and 90% of the time, one will charge forward and one will race back to defend. And depending on how I move my characters or other things or when, they'll do other things instead. Sometimes both will run back to defend, sometimes both will charge. If both charge, that's very, very good because I don't have to fight them, and that's less fights to get in. Less time wasted fighting. And that's a little bit of time wasted since I couldn't order people properly. Maneuvering around menus in this game is kind of tricky, especially since you can use the R1 and L1, the shoulder buttons, to swap between characters quickly, backwards and forwards. However, the game doesn't go from whoever you have selected at the moment. It's whoever you last selected using the L and R buttons. So if I swap characters, if I give a couple of characters orders manually and then click R, it remembers who I was last on with R or L and goes to the next character after them instead. And if I don't remember that very well, and I'm trying to give orders, or other things happen, sometimes my ordering goes a little bit wonky. Or my character selecting. Let's see, and we see... Alright, Anaretta decided to charge. Good. That means I don't have to fight her, that's one less fight. Slightly reduces the risk here. This is a very annoying stronghold. It's one that is permanently level 3. Most of the time when you take a stronghold, it gets weaker, goes down a level. This one always stays at level 3, which is kind of nice because it means I have a reinforcement point for any characters who die. It has a really, really annoying mission, though, called Offense Down. Offense Down means that you do less damage. It should just be called Defense Up. Defeating these characters is really hard. Now, storyline-wise, we are just about to conquer Maletta, and here's the false king of Maletta.
A pathetic cur like you dares to take on this country, this king?
Battle 1. Fight.
And he is an extreme weakling. There we go. Now, Heil is not a weakling. When I first started speedrunning this game, I stuck almost entirely to Sword Masters because I knew they had the best stats. But finally, I decided to see if Dancer would do any good. And when I first tried out a single Dancer, like my main strategy I'm using now, I wasn't too impressed by the early results. It took me a while to get into the groove. But it was on this fight, on my very first run doing it, that I was convinced of just how good it was. Because usually the Dancer takes forever, but will lay out Heil really easily. But Heil is really good at blocking the Katana shoulder charge, so it's just most of the time this fight goes pretty smoothly with the Dancer. It's really easy. Multi-King Slayer. Yeah, you can knock the paintings down and stuff. The terrains are mildly destructible, some of the balconies and stuff. I never thought about it much, but it is a neat little twist and thing. Okay, so now I'm going to have a group charging me, and luckily I'll get to use this stronghold's power for myself now to be slightly more survivable. And 4 characters are going after Sung Mina, who's over there on the left. Sung Mina is a horrible, horrible Soulcalibur boss to fight because she has ice as her mission, which is very, very, very annoying to deal with, and she has actually got AI well programmed to take advantage of the ice. So oftentimes I will not use my main character. I'll leave her behind to defend this stronghold and try to fight with the others. But actually, even though she's kind of vulnerable, it's still a lot more reliable to use spin to win on the ice than any strategies I can use with the katana. It's one of the few times where the katana is about useless. By the way, enemies with katanas are actually fairly scary because they are samurai. It's one of the very best AI for fighting most of the time. I'm always more scared of katanas than pretty much any weapon. And samurai have absolutely outrageous attack power, so they do a lot of damage. So higher level samurai with katana I meet later on in the game can just decimate me if I slip up and let them attack me.
Battle 3, fight!
I kind of like how they're bringing Soul Charge back into Soulcalibur 6 as well. It might be actually something I use. I never really used Soul Charge in any of the Soulcalibur games, but I kind of missed it being removed in 4 and 5, because it's just something iconically... That was not the move to use. Something iconically Soulcalibur about it. And they're actually making it fairly useful from the looks of the gameplay footage I've seen so far.
Final battle, fight!
If you're talking about Ramza, I've used him in a couple fights. If you're talking about Gelida, that's going to be a while. I need to focus on getting Ramza some more experience, though. He has actually just randomly missed out on a lot of higher level fights. I don't have a major... Experience isn't super important, so I don't have a major experience routing with using particular characters, but I just try and spread the experience around that I get from really big bosses like Soulcalibur characters. Yeah, I fought several battles with him in the early Chronicles, and again, just because of the random way I'm not paying attention to who I'm using in other places, he hasn't fought in a little while. But again, I'm going to start using him on some of these other guys coming up. So, only 5 characters can fit in a square, which is why I went ahead and started that battle there with only 5 characters. Because even if I didn't, these 3 guys coming up would just stand in the square next to it and wait, not doing anything, until I defeated the other one anyway, so... Okay, here's Sung Mina.
Decisive battle.
What are we doing, by the way? 128? That's pretty good for SC%. I'm not running my normal timer because I didn't want to have to remove my live split from my stream layout for the restream. Woohoo! Woohoo! Nice, 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 nice. I got pretty lucky. Sung Mina was very confused. If she isn't confused and decides to attack me, I die really fast. She just pushes me out of the ring with the weakest attack, and I have no health left. Sung Mina is my favorite Soulcalibur character. But I hate fighting her in this game, not because I don't like beating up my favorite character, it's just I really hate dealing with that ice. But things have gone a lot better since I suddenly decided to use my dancer instead of the sword masters and trying to protect my dancer. Yeah, it's always fun. The ring out rules in this game are a little bit weird. It only calculates ring outs. You can draw, you can KO each other with hits, but it will actually calculate ring outs down to like the frame or the pixel of who actually enters the out of bounds region first. I have seen times where I could have sworn that we went off at exactly the same time, or I was even a little bit before, but they ruled that I was hit by a ring out instead of the enemy. It's so annoying.
Battle 2, fight!
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing about spamming attacks with these custom character voices. They spam the same dialogue over and over. There's some interesting things about it too. Voices are actually one of the custom things I like about Soulcalibur 3 a lot more than 4 and 5. Although 4 and 5 did add a lot more hairstyles, faces, good equipment and stuff. The voices, they kind of cut back on. There are technically more voices in there. You get 6 per gender instead of just 4. But these 4 genders have an alignment determined by the equipment you're wearing. And that alignment changes entirely how they talk, so they don't sound the same at all. It's not nearly the same as changing the pitch, which you can do in 4 and 5, because that just makes them sound deeper or higher pitch, but they still say the same lines. But there's a lot of different dialogue you can get by making custom characters with specific alignments.
Final battle, fight!
Oh, I messed up. Now, some characters, like Kierke's, will automatically start combat with you when you reach them instead of trading blows on the map to prevent you from cheesing them out. Kierke's is one of them. All of the Soulcalibur characters are if they're on the map. Kierke's is wielding Grieve Edge, which is one of my favorite weapons from Soulcalibur 3. I understand why they didn't bring back any of those weapons in any of the other Soulcaliburs, but I really think that they should have brought Grieve Edge because it's just a cool weapon. So now we just have to deal with the head boss here, the person behind everything that's happened, and guess what? It's a familiar face. And then we'll have defeated Mileta and put an end to one of the Empire's enemies. And this may look semi-threatening, but they're literally going to stop there. Yep, that's all they wanted. They don't care about taking my main citadel. They just want that one. Playing casually, Grieve Edge is a really good weapon to use too if you're struggling with Chronicles of the Sword, because just spamming A-clicks with it is really fast and pretty strong. And it's one of the moves that the AI just has trouble with, especially if you equip one of the many Grieve Edges that does chip damage when you block. You just chip enemies down even if they're smart enough to block. They can't counterattack well at all. So here's the semi-explanatory cutscene. Nice teeth.
All right,
Nice
all
teeth,
right.
George.
Surprised? Well, it's
He
just
looks
as
French.
you
We'll
see.
call him Josh.
I must
George.
protect this country.
I have this brilliant plan of pitting Grandal and Dalkia against one another, and then rise to power during the resulting chaos. But because of your unexpected meddling, my plan is in ruins. You will pay dearly
Chester
for this.
2.
Battle 1. Fight.
Chester wields the dagger, one of the weakest weapons in the game. A lot of fun for people who play the game custom. You can throw bombs with an easy button press, so it's fun. But the computer doesn't spam bombs, and I would go under them anyway, so it's pretty weak. No capes. Yep, no capes. I love capes. Do I actually have no characters with capes? I have no characters with capes. That's actually unusual. I have a no capes party. I just realized. So yeah, Chester the Bandit. Oops, I'm saving the game. That's a time loss. No saves. Okay, now is the one Chronicle, which is always the same, at least in its base setup. No matter what category I run, you have to take all 5 of these strongholds in order. One last battle against Luna and her Klesser Pemdo. And here we get to see their supposed elements on full stage. This is where missions really get interesting as well, because going forward, all 4 of these Citadels of the Klesser Pemdo have unique missions, which are a combination of 2 other missions. Many of these other missions we haven't even seen yet. So first up we've got Loopy, the Sword of the Flame of Hell, whose Cruel Sword mission means that all her attacks are unblockable, and she has Blast on, so if you hit an enemy, you go flying backwards. And no, there are no safety saves in the game, because it's the only thing that it would make a difference in is if I suddenly lost power or something. Because even if I die and lose the Chronicle, I can restart it, and I actually get to keep all the experience I earned as well, so I maybe opt to safety save just in case something catastrophic happens.
Battle 1. Fight.
Wow, she's really being mean today. Usually the Klesser Pemdo are extremely weak, but finally, this is actually the first time this call we've had somebody actually decide that they were just going to own me. So Ramza, it's up to you.
Fight.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
So that's my second death of the run so far. Actual death, not including Ramza getting beaten on the field in Chronicle 5. That's not actually too bad, though. It means rip gold on this, but whatever. That's right. Maybe we'll get lucky. One of the interesting things to bet on is who's going to be the character who will finally take down Strife. Because I have no idea who it is. It's just whoever happens to have the most hit points left when I'm nearly done with Chronicle 20. So it's not going to be the main character. That's a given. But it could be any of the 4 Swordmasters. So next up is Hildo of Ice, of Water. She's on Sacred Field, which is a combination of Ice and Cure. And not having my main character is going to make this slightly more interesting than it normally would be. Because Spin to Win usually still works on or even on Ice, but I can't really use the shoulder charge nearly as well. Come on. There we go. You can see me sliding around just from doing horizontal slashes. She gets a lot of life back because her weapon restores life in addition to in addition to having Cure on. Come on. Jeez. Levels in this game are generally overrated.
Battle 2. Fight.
Did I do it?
Oh, that was silly.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Oh, goodness. Yep. Although if this were Soulcalibur 4 and 5 and 6, we could do armor breaks. Fortifying that so Meliador will come back a little bit closer. Now we're going to see Elua is the weakest of all. Now let's see how many of my characters she's going to wipe out. So far I've lost one per tower. This is really, really good Chronicle 11. So Elua of Wind has Holy Wings, which is a powerful whirlwind, which is kind of bad, combined with Aerial Wind, which means if you get hit and you get knocked up into the air, you go flying high in the air and float like a feather for a second before coming down. Yes, it actually does get kind of lewd.
Decisive battle.
That it's a thing, but not in this game. So the interesting thing about Aerial Wind, we haven't even encountered it yet, and it's kind of useless here because Elua's weapon style only has 2 moves that can cause knock into the air, and she never uses them. She's hit me with such an attack like once in all time. But there you can see what Whirlwind does. Because of the Whirlwind, I was actually pushed away so that my combo failed because of the way that she got up. Soulcalibur 5 had a lot of problems. In some ways, yeah, it shouldn't have existed. At least I finally got to make a martial artist with Soul of Devil Jin, at least. Giving us that was kind. So next up is AG of Earth, who has the single worst mission in the game. Because it's a combination of what would otherwise be the single worst mission in the game, and Quake. So Impregnable is Guardian Force and Quake. Quake means every 3 seconds if you're standing and not blocking, you get hit by a... If you're not crouch blocking, I should say, or if you're not in the air... Oh, yes. Phew, I almost messed that up badly. You get hit by a stun and stagger stun for a second. And Impregnable, or Guardian Force, means that you do not react to anything. You don't stagger when you block. You don't stagger when you take damage. You continue following through with your own attack. Oftentimes counter-attacking because the enemy's in the middle of swinging. Just watch this. This is horrible. Look at her. She doesn't care. Luckily, her stats are bad, and she does damage to herself every time she attacks. So I can't use Shoulder Charge or Spin to Win or any normal stun lock type attacks. I just have to wait until her health depletes and let her grab me. I don't want to let her grab me, but unfortunately I have no choice as I'm dealing with the Quake and everything. So on a really good run, I can beat her without losing anyone, and I haven't lost anyone else on this, and that saves me about a minute versus my average time on this level. Come on, Ramza, you can do better than that. I'm using this leap up in the air attack a lot because I don't get hit by the Quake if I'm in the air. Also, it causes me to go above her, and she often whiffs attacks. Here we go, you got it, Ramza. Alright. They are indeed, by the same company. You just fight with weapons and have special game modes. It's a special story mode with characters you create yourself. Makes it far more interesting in my mind, because of all the things you can do. Okay, so one of the things I have to remember to do, which sometimes I get distracted talking and don't do, is pull back my main character, because again, I don't want her fighting in that fight because, or him, in this case, George is a he. Usually I have a girl because Dancer with Soul of Shanghua should be a girl. But George's spin to win isn't going to do anything. He's really weak. He'll just get clobbered and I'll lose a character, so why bother? The only person who has a chance is a sword master. Yeah, this is a unique mode you won't see in any other Soulcalibur game until hopefully. Why am I doing that? It's pointless. She won't make it. Hopefully, Soulcalibur 6 will give us something similar. But right now, this is very unique in all of Soulcalibur creation. And pretty rare in fighting games in general. I don't know of any other modes like this. I think I've heard of a couple, but never seen them myself. Now, this dialogue will be repeated 3 times over the next 5 chronicles. Or that line, at least.
It will not be
So
like
you
our
come.
previous encounters. See if you can defeat this sword.
Battle 1. Fight.
Luna's mission here is Reserve Offense Up, which is a lot scarier than it seems. Reserve Offense Up is another badly named one, or badly translated, that means that as her health goes down, her attack goes up. So it's usually not a problem, but if she's very low and she gets out of my stun lock somehow, like I ring her out, but she isn't quite all the way dead, and she hits me, she can do enormous damage. But otherwise, it's pretty weak. And that's the final battle against Luna. Have we seen the last of her? Good question. Oh yes, and randomly she has Soulcalibur. Yeah, that's kind of in the story, sort of. Soulcalibur's in the story, I guess? Yeah, okay. Good to know. We defeated her sword, though, so I guess Soulcalibur isn't all bad. Oh wait, I've got Soulcalibur too, but it doesn't matter. Okay, let's not mess up this chronicle this time. Yes. Yes, this will work. So now the final battle against Dalkia. We're about to face the Dalkian Queen and her absolute elite forces, including Rowan, who we fought back in Chronicle 5. Kierke's has come back as well, just because Kierke's. And there are 2 Soulcalibur characters I have to defeat on this map. Way over here, on the left, is Raphael. He is a knight, one of the strongest classes in the game, but he's not hard. And over here on the right, did I say right before? That was left. This is right. Sometimes I don't know my directions. Over here on the right is Cassandra. She's in Cure. She's a Sage, which is a moderately powerful class, but not that strong. Are you seriously? I can't believe it. You're not supposed to go this way. That causes an unnecessary extra battle load. The AI for these guys who come charging in at me is extremely funky. I try different strats at different times to deal with things, but I guess that is not the way.
Battle 1. Fight. Fight.
This is technically the only weapon style that they kept in further installments, or at least in Soulcalibur 4, because Amy, Raphael's ward that is in the story of Soulcalibur 2, is a special character you can unlock in Soulcalibur 3, and she is the base for the rapier style that they have here. So when she becomes a true new character in Soulcalibur 4, they just increase the style to be more of a main style, give it a few more moves and stuff to flesh it out. And because of the fact that Amy is supposed to be a silent character, they didn't want her talking for whatever reason. Whenever you wield the rapier, your character is also totally silent. Except for, grunts and stuff, but no actual dialogue.
one, fight.
Did I do it? You can't.
Ring out. Fight.
Did I do it?
One of the things that I've gotten a lot better at from playing this game so much is
Battle two.
figuring out my proper response after a shoulder charge uppercut. Because I have two different things that I can do. Usually, most of the time, I just develop the usual air juggle combo I use so often. But then, after I started speedrunning it, I thought maybe I can get ring outs using the spinning jump kick. And so I started practicing that and using that spinning jump kick. Once I realized that pushes the enemy so far away, it really sets up for easy ring outs a lot of the time. And of course, if you get a lot of ring outs, you can save a lot of time. However, I got so used to practicing and doing that I started doing it even in, say, cage fights, where it's pointless. Or in big arenas against weak enemies that usually get killed off in one or two shoulder charges. It doesn't save any time. I do less damage with the spinning jump kick. So, but now I'm a little bit better at varying it up and doing whichever is right for the situation. I haven't even thought about it very much recently. Also, redirecting on the map with the D-pad is troublesome. There are certain ways that sometimes your controller decides it wants to go. Hopefully, I'll be able to fight all these guys at once, and I chose the wrong character again. This could actually be bad. I'm going to start the battle now, and not try and have a little bit of safety here. This was the unsafe thing I wasn't supposed to do. It's normally it's safe, but if for whatever reason these fights go very poorly and I die, they'll take my stronghold and I'll reset and I'll lose the 5 or 6 minutes, however long I've been in this chronicle. Have to start it all over.
Battle one, fight.
Okay, first fight down. Unfortunately, they rarely give your main stronghold any good missions to help you defend it. It's just big.
You might want to rethink this.
Battle two, fight.
You might want to...
Battle three, fight.
Okay.
You might want to rethink this.
The power of the Soulcalibur weapon and what it gives to me makes up a lot for the weak stats of the Dancer too.
Final battle, fight.
Okay, I feel safe now. I should be able to beat the last two characters without too much trouble. Yep. Usually I can beat them without much trouble, but during one of my practices last week, I lost this fight and ruined any chance I had of PB because it lost 6-7 minutes for having to start over because I did play poorly there. And I'm like, I never play poorly here, so I was thinking about that. It's like, I really shouldn't do that with this character in the marathon because this is I don't want to lose 8 minutes. Yep, Soulcalibur 2 came out for the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, and each one offered a different cool guest character, including Link on the GameCube version. That's what made Soulcalibur gave the series its real popularity. It was a popular game in Soul Blade and especially in Soulcalibur, but Soulcalibur 2 is what made it a kind of global phenomenon. And then they went and took Soulcalibur 3 and put it only on PS2, thereby, limiting and incensing 2/3 of the fan base. Then after that, they've released it for multiple platforms again, so that's good. But they just wanted to focus on the Creative Soul, so they picked PlayStation as the one benefactor. Luckily for me, I was a PlayStation 2 guy. Yep.
This really wasn't a fair contest.
Well done, George. What am I doing? That's not the way I want to go. I don't want to take any more strongholds down than I have to. Okay. Yep. Okay, Cassandra's up next.
Decisive battle.
It is still far and away my favorite. Mostly for Chronicles of the Sword, but I really like how they did a lot of the little things. The story modes were pretty neat because they were a little bit more interactive than just the simple arcade battle through characters.
Final battle. Fight.
They had a whole lot of different options to play in the Soul Arenas. Later Soulcaliburs, they focused too much on... Okay.
Fight.
This is fine. We're fine. Mirasame is the best weapon in the game, just in case anybody didn't know that. Also, thank you, Cure.
Don't hold back next time.
Whew. That actually looked dangerous for a bit. That's the power of Sword Masters and the Mirasame Katana Sword. Even if you're at really low health, if you can get off a few combos against even a powerful enemy, you can quickly recover yourself. Sadly, you can't do that during Guardian Force battles because the Guardian Force is just too strong. You can't combo from there, so they'll hit you while you're hitting them, and you're getting nowhere. Should have gone all the way. Yeah, the life regen, it's kind of funny because in Soulcalibur 2, the most powerful life-gaining weapon are those that recover life every time you attack. And if you get a character like Sung Mina, her ultimate weapon, Hasvoger, or however that's pronounced, does that. It restores health every time you attack with it. So if you do one of her spinning staff moves, her health will go from bottom to half full and then up to full in like 3 or 4 seconds. It's unbelievable. They really toned that down in this game, but the vampire effect from having a vampiric weapon that life steals is really strong instead. So that is one of the many reasons why Katana is the next best thing to Shanghua's Spin to Win. Okay, whose help do I want? Zara, I guess. I really don't need the people that I would want. Okay, once again, I'm holding back on orders in order to try and minimize the number of orders that I have to give.
Final battle. Fight.
Ring out. One of the neat things about ring outs too is that they cause the end of battle screen, the battle results screen here, to load a little bit faster, like a half a second, a second. It's kind of minor, but it is long enough to be noticeable, so the amount of ring outs I get can save time, can save a lot of time over the course of the run if I get enough of them. Now I just sit back and wait. Raphael next. Is it going to be Raphael or Rowan? Rowan. He's not quite close enough. Rowan starts the battle with you automatically. So I don't have to worry about going to start the battle. This person attacks me for a little bit, but then when Rowan shows up, he initiates Soulcalibur combat on his own. Pardon.
Battle 1. Fight.
Seriously?
Fight.
You're open. Yeah, if I'd had a GameCube, that is actually the whole reason I play Soulcalibur, because of the GameCube version with Link on it. And that's all because of my sister, who was working at Blockbuster. Ah, the glorious days of Blockbuster. And saw the game and saw Link was on it and said, "Wait, I've seen a PS2 version of this game. It's a game that on the PS2 that has Link in it. I should rent it and check it out." So she got the PS2 version, but didn't notice that Link isn't in the PS2 version. But I ended up playing it anyway and thought, holy cow, this is a lot of fun. And I've been a loyal Soulcalibur fan ever since. Even if it peaked at 3, and that's the one I actually play. That was fun. Raphael in his Nightmare of the Opera mask. Or Phantom of the Opera mask. Whatever.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Oh, I don't want to do anything with him anyway. He won't make it anywhere in time for the final battle. Ramza will, if I go now. Save a little bit of time, maybe. Chronicle 12 marks about the halfway point of the run, so we're doing pretty good. Soulcalibur 3 runs Special Game Mode, Chronicles of the Sword.
Decisive battle.
Wow, even TI, huh? Yeah. Worst, easiest boss in the game, and that line again.
So, you've come.
So you've come.
Worthless servant of strife, you shall pay with your blood.
For daring to defy me.
Battle 1. Fight. There.
I forgot that I wasn't the katana for a second. I do that occasionally. I have never lost to Aurelia, to my knowledge, no matter how low I was. No, my memory card's fine. I've heard people say that their cards get corrupted, they can't save their game data file. I have never had a problem with it. I am very lucky in that regard, I guess. It's allowed me to become the Soulcalibur 3 Chronicles of the Sword speedrunner. Okay, so a year has passed. We've defeated Dalkia. We've defeated all the kingdoms that were opposing us. Grandal reigns supreme. What could we possibly be fighting? Oh, well, we've been put in charge of the entire army, and General Gerardo has declared rebellion. Not specifically related circumstances, these. All of our units that we previously had were taken away, except our custom characters. And we're given Abilia and 3 noobs. And we have to use this to defeat General Gerardo and the rebels. Luckily, we have our custom characters, so we don't even care about that. But we have some moral trepidation about fighting our beloved commander and teacher, General Gerardo, who must have a good reason for rebelling. But because we are good soldiers, free of any actual moral obligation, we don't get to make a choice, and so we have to fight the rebels. Oh, we need to meet the Pepsi Man incentive. Pepsi Man!
Decisive battle.
So I'm doing a slightly safer strat this time around. I haven't had any problems with my regular strat, but I don't want this to be a run ruined by really horrible luck. Also, Spoony Bard, number 1. There are 2 Spoony Bards on this map. That was the first.
Battle 2. Fight.
Ah, she is so annoying. Okay.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
Indeed. Okay, so we have 3 Soulcalibur characters this time. We're down to only using 4 characters of our own. The 3 are Keelik, Changhua, and Maxi. So, kind of makes sense that they're together. Keelik and Changhua are actually on the same, in the same stronghold, so that's why I've sent 2 characters down here. It's way out of the way. Normally I would only send 1, but just in case they decide to actually play rough and defeat me, because there's 2 of them, so it's really good chance of that happening. I send 2 because I'm pretty much guaranteed to win with 2.
Battle 1. Fight.
We already beat Raphael.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
Raphael was last Chronicle. Yes, indeed. Hello, Marco. That's strange. I thought that she stayed in. Oh well. Keelik and Changhua in this place that I'm approaching, and then Maxi is in an all-unblockable place a little bit back. I will point it out once I'm out of this combat. Well done, George.
How did you enjoy that dance?
He actually hasn't said that line yet. Each of the classes has a unique line that they will say, depending on the voice. That's for victory sometimes. I don't usually use male dancers, so this is totally new to me. But since Georges was the only name incentive, I went with my dancer male. Maxi is in here with all unblockable. He is not scary at all, even though he's a level 60 monk. Alright, thanks for that. Pepsi Man. That is such a hilarious game. Only Japan could make games like that. So Keelik and Changhua are a monk and a dancer, respectively. Usually you fight Changhua first, then Keelik. Usually. Sometimes they mix it up. So, for the most part, they're not that dangerous, even though they're level 60. Monks and dancers are pretty weak classes. They're some of the initial ones. Dancers are really horrible. And Changhua doesn't know how to do her own spin to win properly. But they can do a lot of damage, especially since they're in reserve offense up.
Battle 2. Fight.
Stop whining. 60 wins. I usually get close to 100 wins with my dancer by the end of the game. I usually have about 5 deaths, too. Now I have to go all the way back with these two. Alright, we've still got half the week to go. Kind of sad I didn't get any names, but I'm glad that the SC % incentive was met right at the beginning of my run. I kind of enjoy running SC % a little bit more than A%, even though it's a little trickier in weirder ways, more than just fighting the Soulcalibur characters. Routing around them is the thing that still troubles me. But I just think it's a little bit more interesting fighting that. It adds a little bit more spice and flavor to the run. Yeah. One down. Keelik is actually, here's Spoony Bard number 2. Keelik is actually one of my mains too, though. But he's not that great for the speedrun. He's okay, but not nearly as good as Katana or Xianghua. Once I'm a little bit more comfortable running this in marathons, I might start offering real challenge donation incentives, like pick what 5 weapons I'm going to use. And then see how well I do without my super strats. Ninja maids, by the way. Only Japan. I love some of these custom outfits. Some of them are weird looking, but a lot of them are pretty cool, and some of them are just funny. Here is our second Cosmos hair character. Take a dive. Chinese sword is one of the other styles that often gives me a lot of problems. Better de-rust it fast. Yeah, the one problem with my incentive being met is it is pushing the marathon back another hour. Okay, here's Maxi. Maxi in his secondary outfit usually has blonde hair, which is kind of sad because Maxi is best with his Elvis look. But with all unblockable, you would think that'd be a pretty nasty combination with Maxi, but his AI isn't good. He's a monk as well, so his stats aren't great. And because he is Maxi, even though he can do a lot of attack strings, he has way too many moves that leave him open even if he starts using them. Tell me, did she do it? Ah, okay. A lot, not every. There's some that I don't have any good strategy, so I usually resort to things like spamming horizontal / AA strings. But there are quite a few weapons where I do have at least 1 or 2 moves which are relatively reliable. So not having my preferred ones can definitely slow things down, but I think, especially if I practice them enough, it won't be too bad. Well, that's one of the reasons why this doesn't lose that much time, actually. Alright, this is one of the slow portions. We have a nasty boss coming up, though. That's actually the only character left. Oh no, there's one more. That's right. I almost forgot that character. We're going to not fight one character on the map. Alright. So, Brynhild in here is on Separate. We haven't seen Separate yet, and we get it in a level 4 fortress where it's horrible. Separate is the opposite of glue. It pushes you away from the enemy. It will push you right off the edge if you will let it. It also is really troublesome for me because it means that my stun lock is really hard to get off because it usually pushes me out of range so that the follow-up hit doesn't connect. It only does if the AI decides to stand up forward. If so, she will get in range and get hit, and I'll continue the stun lock until she decides to get up another direction. So it's very, very annoying. Unfortunately, especially with the dancer, I don't have a lot of better options, so all I can basically do is spin to win and pray.
Decisive battle.
Whee! Look at how far I get pushed away even before the battle starts. Yay, thank you. Yay, thank you. Yay, thank you. Aww. Okay, that wasn't bad. I often die to her simply because she decides to be aggressive and I just can't get enough stun lock hits. But she was pretty kind to me today.
May I have time for one more donation?
Go for it.
Alright, we have $45 from Pablo SJO that says, Pepsi Man!
Alrighty, and thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you for that very generous donation, Pablo. Really appreciate it.
Okay, what strategy am I going to try today? The one I've been trying most often. Okay, this is an interesting chronicle in a couple of different ways. I actually have a really fun strat on any percent, but because it's Soulcalibur percent, I can't do it. Yeah. So, the Soulcalibur characters here are Mitsurugi and Taki, and they're in opposite corners. Taki way on the left over there, Mitsurugi in this bottom right corner that I'm heading towards. They are also the only threatening characters on the entire map. Except for the boss, all the rest of these guys are just level 14 nameless rebels. They are absolute trash. However, the chronicle is slightly interesting because I will actually lose if my main character falls in battle. So I can't risk her on the Soulcalibur characters because if they destroy her, chronicle over, I have to restart. It's a pain. But, otherwise, most of these guys are wimpy, including the final boss. He's an absolute joke. Almost as bad as Aurelia. Now Meliador is falling behind. Nope, it's not. Okay. What was I thinking? I got distracted.
Battle 1. Fight.
Alright, so I'm not much of a threat as long as I don't fight the Soulcalibur characters. Not a big deal. So right now I'm keeping her back just to deal with a few guys who are charging towards my main stronghold. And then she's going to join my upcoming push.
Fight.
It will be a long time before my sword
Okay.
is complete.
And now, the interesting thing about Mitsurugi and Taki on this map, though, is that they are the only Soulcalibur characters who react to the environment. All the Soulcalibur characters, right before you fight them, have a line of dialogue, and then after you beat them, they have a line of dialogue. But Mitsurugi and Taki will actually communicate with other characters on the map. Specifically, just right here, Ignis tells Mitsurugi, hey, you can have this one. I think it's implying that Mitsurugi's a mercenary that he hired or whatever. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to be speaking at this point. While on the other hand, Taki talks to Abilia and is convinced that Abilia is possessed by the evil sword. I don't know how she comes to this conclusion, but okay, whatever. Okay, Mitsurugi is pretty tough because he's a samurai, one of the most powerful classes in the game, outrageous attack power. He can very easily kill one or two of my guys here. He's got pretty good AI too. Luckily that fight wasn't bad.
Be careful from now on.
Oh, goodness. Favorite stage? Honestly, I think my favorite might be Shanghua's Imperial Palace. Just for the aesthetics. I don't really have one for any strategic reasons. I don't really like the cage fight because I like being able to ring out. Which, for that reason, the Floral Palace, Imperial Palace stage is pretty good because of you can get good ring outs on it. Okay, that is going to be it? Yes, good. The ship is pretty fun. It's got some really cool ambient effects. Ivy's mansion is actually fun too because of the paintings falling off the wall, as we observed before. You can knock those down and stuff. Harder to ring out on that one though.
Battle 1. Fight. Final battle. Fight.
Clock Tower is probably one of my least favorite. I have too many bad memories of the Clock Tower in various fashions.
Be careful from now on.
And it's funny I say that right after Faded Outline posts that it's one of his favorites. One of the Soul Arena battles puts you on the Clock Tower, and it actually has the Clock Tower rotating. So it's a similar effect to the Whirlwind mission in this one. So you're constantly being pushed out of the ring by it, and it is such a... oh, darn it. I can't believe he reached me.
Battle 1. Fight.
Did I do it? Did I do it? Rotate! Did I do it?
Ring out.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Go, go, go! Go, go, go! Darn it. Okay, now we're good. Yep, the objective in Chronicles of the Sword is to advancing through each map. Most of the Chronicles have the main objective of taking the enemy stronghold. There is one stronghold for you and one stronghold for the enemy, a primary one in each Chronicle except for Chronicle 20. And if you lose your main Chronicle, or your main stronghold, like mine is this guy over here, level 5. If I lose that, I lose the Chronicle and have to start over. I win once I take this stronghold right here. However, I'm playing a special category called Soulcalibur %, SC% for short, where I also have to defeat the 23 Soulcalibur characters who are spread around the map as optional super bosses, spread around the 20 Chronicles. I just defeated Mitsurugi. I'm going to be fighting Taki next up here in this stronghold. She's got glue. She's a ninja. Not nearly as dangerous as Mitsurugi because she's a worse class and just not very strong overall. Normally they are, but this is a special game mode unique to Soulcalibur 3, which was the first Soulcalibur game to give you create a soul function, or in other words, customizable characters. And so in this mode you have to make custom characters, and you use them to fight in this story mode, which is it's on this unknown continent on some other world, and there are these 3 great kingdoms, and you're the commander of the army of one of the kingdoms, defeating all of the enemies. Oh, darn, I wasn't supposed to do that. Oh well. I distracted myself again. Potential loss here, but probably not. Taki isn't hard, but things can happen. But the combat portions of this game are Soulcalibur combat, like this.
Battle 1. Fight.
Okay, no worries. We good. Yep. So this is a custom character I made myself, sort of. I just used one of the default skins. Named by a generous donation of $1 from the watching community. So George is our hero. And I have this other group of custom characters I've made, 2 of which I put some thought into, and 2 of which I also just use default skins. But they gain levels and increase their stats like in an RPG. They can equip different weapons for different effects. But most of the combat is, it's pretty much just a trussed-up version of Soulcalibur in most respects. Yep, there are 20 total Chronicles. Technically 21, including the tutorial, which is the Super Gimme mode. This is Chronicle 14, so I have 6 to go after this. So there's something special about these rebels in the storyline. It suggested that we see, like, Grandal coverings in the base and everything. Like, these guys have Grandal livery. They're supposed to be rebels, but they have Grandal stuff. And Abilia, our second in command, assumes that it's just because, oh, the rebels are having trouble letting go of the country, you know. But we suspect that there's something different about it. Also, for those who couldn't read the dialogue fast enough, spoilers, Chester is actually still alive, who we defeated in Chronicle 12, and he is now the lackey of Emperor Strife, who had interesting things to say before this chronicle began. Ignis is really, really weak. He's only level 23. He's the boss. These sparkles around me mean that I have blast effect on. If I get hit by a knockback, I'll get way knocked back, but they mean nothing. Because Ignis is a weakling. And here's Abilia's conversation with Tina about it. Tina's the most verbose of the characters you have in this at this time period. Okay, now one of the worst chronicles in the game. Gerardo. So we have to fight General Gerardo again, our beloved teacher. We have to go kill him. We feel so sad about it, but, you know, orders. Yeah, the Gerardo fight is one of the definitely 3 hardest in the entire game. Luckily, there are 2 Soulcalibur characters here, but they're actually standing outside of their stronghold, so even if we can't beat them, if they decide to be really rough like they were to me over the weekend, I can still beat them without too much trouble because they won't regenerate health. Yeah, we'll see that next. Next Chronicle is my least favorite.
You might want to rethink this. Be careful from now on.
Let's take a moment to examine the detail. This was a mid-era PS2 game. For such its, considering this was only a small game mode in another game, they put a lot of nice detail in these map backgrounds and such. Some of the places they have livestock grazing and stuff, the fires going. Pretty neat to see at times. This is a fight where the AI are triggered once you take a stronghold. Abelia panics. When the enemies all start charging, we don't care. That countdown is Quake. If I get hit by Quake, I'll be stunned, but if you kill the enemy before it goes off, it doesn't matter.
You on anytime you want.
Okay, and... Alright. Once again, for those who weren't here when I explained it the first time, almost more than 2 hours ago, because of, as you can see, the load times between these battles are so long, one of the things I try to do in my basic strategy is to clump as many enemies up in a single group to reduce the amount of load times. He's not getting near the edge. More damage.
Battle 2. Fight. Ring out. Fight.
So this is another Chronicle as well, where certain enemies will join you after you defeat them in another later Chronicle. So in the next Chronicle, Failfan here is actually going to join our party, because we fought him first. There's another potential recruit we could have. Most of the time in the speedrun, I defeat Failfan first.
Final battle. Fight.
It's right harder to go around that. Take a dive. Done. Oh well, still saved the day time.
Looks like I won this fight.
There it is still. Okay. Again, since I'll lose my stronghold if it gets taken, I have to run back and fight these guys even if I don't want to. Also the reason why I had to run back to defend that particular base. I have attempted before and lost this chronicle due to attempting to bull rush the enemy stronghold first. There's no way to avoid defeating most of the enemies because they bull rush your strongholds. And your stronghold's a lot weaker than the enemies. One of the other things, again, that I have to say I just really love is the amount of custom characters that you battle against. They have a good amount of, generic grunts who are nameless in the same uniform, and even the uniforms, be differing from country to country, show a little nice touch there, but there are enough unique characters that really make it a little more interesting to go through 20 chronicles of this, even though the fights are largely the same every time. Okay, now we can finally get on to talking about the Soulcalibur characters here. Again, there are two of them. First one we're going to fight, well, after this battle, coming up is going to be Voldo. Voldo is a pain a lot of the time. He's a very annoying character. Luckily, he's a dancer, worst class in the game, so he'll be his stats are pretty low, so he isn't going to give me too much trouble.
Battle 1.
Rudiger here is the other character who could potentially join us. I do have a particular challenge category where I only make one custom character and otherwise use the characters provided in the game for my rest of my party. And one of the ways that I should probably, if I were to continue pursuing that a bit more, I probably would like to try routing out this chronicle a little bit to fight Rudiger first, because I believe he would be a more useful character to recruit than Failfan. Yes, and this Voldo will be an extremely strange and beautiful creature, because this Voldo, all the Soulcalibur characters, when you fight them in Chronicles of the Sword, are always in their secondary outfits. And some of the secondary outfits they chose for this game are particularly interesting. Flash, I don't think I'm going to make it. Good, I made it. Yeah, some very twisted ones. But some of these outfits are particularly good. We had a Hammerhead Astaroth. I guess we're going to reach Yoshimitsu first. Here's Yoshimitsu. He also has an interesting outfit. He's a samurai, so he's a little more dangerous, especially since he's in a small arena with easy ring out, so if he gets lucky and knocks me out, I'll probably die. But, which is why I fortified that stronghold, so I'll be able to come back a lot closer, because you revive at the closest level 3 or higher stronghold.
Final battle. Fight.
Did I do it?
That was a nice start.
Fight.
Did I do it?
Samurai do so much damage, as you can see. Especially at level 60. Throughout most of the game, Samurai actually have higher attack power than Sword Masters. It's the only class with any stat higher than a Sword Master's.
I'll take you anytime.
So they do a lot of damage. Until you reach level 99. At level 99, Sword Masters, already insane stats, actually get a huge buff from like 289 to 300. Most of the time your stats go up 0 to 3 per level. 0 to 2, except for hit points, which are 4 or 5 usually. So that was Squid Face Yoshimitsu. He had a good face. Voldo has one better, though. Voldo has the sun and moon face. You can see how little damage he was doing compared to Yoshimitsu. That's the difference in character classes. I remember that Jara here is higher level than Meliadul was. He's being really mean today. But he's done.
Did you really expect to get the better of my blade?
Alrighty, now it's just Gerardo. These other two I don't need to worry about fighting. And Gerardo is a huge pain. First of all, this is a unique fight. First of all, it's going to be our third time seeing that familiar line come up. And it's all Gerardo says. Second of all, Gerardo, for some reason, this is the only fight in the entire game where it doesn't make your main character fight first. It picks a random character in your party who is not your leader to start the battle. And your leader is always the last person to fight, every time I've done this. So, knowing the way this game works, it'll probably throw me off by, going against that now during this marathon with 200 people watching. But that's the bread and butter. Second of all, this is once again Guardian Force. We again have to deal with Gerardo not being affected by anything. There's no Quake this time, but Gerardo has much worse stats than, much better stats, I should say, than AG. His stats are insane. His defense is absolutely outrageous. And all you can do is chip him to death without being able to stun him while he wails on you. An absolute golden speedrun of this game would be defeating Gerardo with one character, but I don't think I've ever managed it. He is so tough. Here's the line.
So you've come. Battle 1.
They picked Meliadul first. Luckily, his weapon damages him, but it's chip damage. And he doesn't damage himself when he does throws, so we're not off to a good start. Why did I try that? I know it doesn't work. There we go. That's doing some damage. She's dead. The problem with Mirasame is that it takes away my life over time, so, yep, I just died from life loss. Yeah, this is different than any other Soulcalibur you think you're ever going to see. Crossing my fingers that isn't true, and Soulcalibur 6 gives us a similar mode. Oh no, I didn't want that. Oh, come on. Okay, 3 characters to beat him is roughly average. Pretty good is just losing 1 character. Losing 2 is average. Yes, this is indeed your end. They spam a lot of things. And she says it's over. It's not quite over. It's almost over. Ha ha ha, killed himself. Longest cutscene in the game.
You are strong, but you do not yet know where to direct that power. Right now, your strength is controlled by others. Think for a moment. For whom do you wield your power? For what purpose?
The funny thing is that this skin is a default one. This is Samurai 3, but I really like it too, which is why I use it so much. I'm like, this is a great default skin. Bonk.
That strength yourself. Otherwise,
It's pretty bad.
you will never become a true warrior.
Oh, holy cow, Soul Edge. No way. And you probably don't know the first time you played that, but that's Emperor Strife, you know, the ruler of Grandal, and he just came and killed Gerardo by stabbing him with Soul Edge. What the heck? Soul Edge is actually in this game? What? So, now you've even defeated the rebels. And Billy is like, this is great, let's go home. And all the rest of us are just like, ... Okay. I'm gonna let this read out now, this big plot twist. 3 years ago, he had decided he wanted to be a protector and had taken up the sword. 2 years ago, he had realized that he didn't even know it was he was protecting. 1 year ago, the war had ended, but through all the battles, he had found no answers. Yesterday, he had lost something very important. He hadn't realized just how important it was to him until it was gone. And now, once again, he would take up the sword, to rebel of his own free will against the Empire. But it's like, where did it come from? So now we're like, hey, Failfan, you know your rebels we just wiped out? We're going to lead them now. Yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it? We've decided we want to rebel against Grandal too. Yes, indeed, lore. So this is my least favorite chronicle in the game, and this is the primary reason right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 characters. I haven't had 3 characters since Chronicle 4. And look at how big this map is. This map is huge. Look at all these bases I have to go through. This is so slow. It's a pain. Even better, there are as many Soulcalibur characters on this map as there are my characters. 3. I have to beat 3 of them. They, once again, are pretty weak classes, but they have some really, really special missions that make dealing with them quite interesting. The first 2 guys we fight are trash, however, so we blow through them like normal. Spin to win. So down here in this corner is Zosalamel. Down Lose is the name of this mission. Down Lose is a very interesting mission that means that when you fall down, you lose. It actually is very self-explanatory. So if you get knocked down, hit by a knockback attack, you lose. You get shot up into the air like a cannon. You'll see it in action here real quick. So Zosalamel is there, and he's pretty good at it. He's designed to take advantage of that. So here's some, little livestock grazing around, not caring about this war that's going on. These buildings are going to be on fire, and they are not going to care. Those are little things. One more little guy, and then it starts getting tough.
Decisive battle.
Don't worry, they very much nerfed this sword in Soulcalibur 4 and 5. You can no longer spin to win your way to victory, which really sucks in the Tower of Souls and hard game modes of Soul Calibur 5.
You might want to be careful from now on.
Well, the game doesn't have any glitches that can be used to exploit the game, so... Okay, one more normal guy, and now we have Malon here is going to come and reinforce, and at this point we're going to be fighting a lot of characters in the high 40s who are named, who are really good AI. Yeah. So very true. So glad I've never encountered memory corruption. So it's, even aside from the Soul Calibur characters, it is far from smooth sailing on this map, and pretty much all these maps going forward. Also, I just love that loading battle screen with the two stick figures fighting.
Fight.
You might want to rethink this.
Battle 2. Fight.
Eventually she'll get bored of blocking.
Fight.
This really wasn't a fair contest.
What's really hilarious about this move, and the reason why it works so well, is that for some reason, when the AI is often programmed to stop blocking right before it hits, so it almost seems like it's unblockable. That's just a little error in the programming, I guess, and something they very much fixed in the later Soul Caliburs. So, first of all, we're going to fortify this up because I'm almost certain to lose somebody over these next couple of fights, and this will allow me to respawn much closer. And now I'm going to deal with these two. Hopefully they won't kill me, although they have a very good chance of it because they are brutal. They're real wenches. And again, there are different unit types you can do. You've seen their cavalry running around. You've seen a lot of their infantry. I use bandits instead, which are really fast moving on the map and really good at taking down towers. But if I let them just fight on the field like that, they get utterly destroyed. Luckily, I prefer to fight in Soul Calibur combat, so it's all good.
Battle 1. Fight.
Not exactly good, but I hit her with ring out.
Fight. Final battle. Fight. Ring out. Fight.
Yay! Okay. That actually went really well.
How did you enjoy that dance?
Okay, yeah, they're gonna finish way first. So Zaso ML coming up. Zaso ML is a saint, which is my least favorite class in the game. I like its two Soul Calibur characters, Talim and Zaso ML. They're both fun styles to use, but I'm not very good with either of them, and neither one has any moves I've found that are readily abusable. So they're two of the hardest to use. And saints just have... Their stats are technically better than dancers and thieves, but their attack is the lowest in the game, so And that's the most important stat, so they're pretty bad too. They're down there in the very bottom tier of classes along with Dancer and Thief.
Decisive battle.
Okay.
Battle 1. Fight.
Did I do it?
Oh, darn. So that's down lose. Usually I go aggressive and he doesn't know what to do about it, but I was a little too careful at the opening of that fight. Mistake on my part.
Final battle. Fight.
Boom. Revenge is sweet.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
Yeah, I'm so glad Zaselmel's back in Soulcalibur 6. It's a very fun style. Again, I'm not very good with it, but it is a very fun style. Oh yeah, he's not in there. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure, that is the only down-lose mission in the game. One of the reasons I'd like to see a ROM hack of this or something where there were a lot more of these weird missions available more, but it isn't a popular enough game, and I guess especially isn't when it's prone to memory corruption and such things. Yep, he'll definitely never lose to a scythe-wielding immortal would-be god. He might not make it in time. Okay, Talim and Yun Sung are together. They're together in a map with a really powerful whirlwind, and Talim's map, which is really confined with one wall but 3 open areas to get hit by ring out with, and they are both programmed to use ring out moves on me. Oh, these two are a pain.
Battle 1.
Let's see how lucky I get. Not lucky. Lucky. I've got it now. He's against the wall.
You might want to rethink this.
I think Torment.
Battle 2. Fight.
Because he's immortal, but every time he dies, it's more painful for him before he's reborn.
You might want to rethink this. This really wasn't a fair contest.
Yep. That fight went well, too. It's actually more common for me to lose a character to Talim and Yun Sung than it is for me to lose one to Zaselmel. MK Bunny, get excited.
Decisive battle.
Indeed she is. I remember that very well. But this is why I was saying to get excited.
Battle 1. Fight.
MK Bunny and I just discussed this strat a little bit ago. It's actually unusual for me. Oh, she isn't dead yet. Come on. Just die already.
How did you enjoy that dance?
Yep, yep. Now the difference between these is that it's a slightly longer route around the top here, just barely, and I have to fight one extra battle, or load one extra battle, but it's a level 1 stronghold with 300 hit points versus a level 3 with 500. So, also, that's a much easier place than fighting here. This is another really bad separate, so it's a huge pain of a dungeon. I wouldn't have needed to, but I thought she was dead, and so I pulled off the premature taunt. Warning, premature taunts are not good for you. I do that usually at least once a run. I think I've killed somebody and go into taunt and they're not dead yet, and I'm like, oops, I just lost my combo because of that.
Decisive battle.
It's funny, you two have never looked at the chat at the same time.
Battle 1. Fight.
Oh. Probably gonna lose him. Unless Konami is really kind. Nope. Yes! Haha!
Be careful from now on.
And hello, hello. Not losing a character there, very good. Saves me about 2 minutes. Because I don't have to build up a stronghold, I don't have to wait for a character to reload, they all get to attack the main base at once. So after all of that, the boss here is one of the anticlimactic ones. Gagami is not hard, he has all guard break, which means nothing to me.
That's correct.
It's,
For carry out, Ronald Johnson.
Can you get me some boneless chicken wings with buffalo sauce? Oh, okay.
I was gonna order steak. Yes.
That is the question.
So you have boneless wings with buffalo sauce. Medium.
Of course you have.
Um, 16. Yes, I wanted that pasta, Alfredo chicken stuff, whatever.
Chink, 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 chink. If we had more donations, this would be a place to use them.
So, yeah, family size is supposed to have breadsticks with it or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't seem very effective. Now, you don't see it because I only use swords. You've seen it a little bit on enemies, but the weapons that
No,
your
that would
sprites
probably
wield
be-
on this map, there are 3 different ones. There's the sword, there's your bare hands, which really looks good, and there are big lances, depending on the size of the weapon you're using. If you're using like kunai or dagger, they're using their bare hands, and that wailing on a stronghold really looks straight.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
Okay.
All right, real quick. We do not have any donations currently, but if you guys could, yeah, like I said, we're like $8 away from hitting 400 out of 500. You guys are absolutely amazing.
Okay,
With
just let me
these-
know when you're ready for me to go again.
When with these submissions, like I said, I would love to see us hit 400 before the end of this run. I don't expect it, but I would love to see it happen. But yeah, we're on day 3 of like 7. Tomorrow and Saturday is just jam-packed with games, so definitely look forward to that. If you hit exclamation point donate, if you're wanting to donate, you can do so there. If you hit exclamation point incentives, you can check that out there. But with that, onto the continuing with the run.
Okay, thanks. So Chronicle 17, interesting things happening here. All of the guys we used to have in our previous army are in these strongholds, defending them. And if we defeat them, we will recover them and get them in our added back to our party after it's over. They have been controlled by shards of soul edge, turned into zombies, doing whatever the enemy leader tells them. We also have 2 Soulcalibur characters, and this is an interesting chronicle because it's the only one where I fight the Soulcalibur characters on any percent. Because this southern route, past Sophitia and Kira, is actually quicker than anywhere else in the map. So you always get to see Sophitia and Kira get fought. Unless you pull up VODs of my very earliest speed runs before I figured out that this was quicker. So this is one of the more entertaining maps, mission types. Pointless, but fun. Coin Collector. 550 is my record. Let's see if I can break it today. Here's Sophitia. Her alternate dress is really, really cool in this one. Oops, that's bad. That's good. Uh, 552. Very close to a new record if it isn't.
I'll take you on anytime you want.
Well, whether you have or haven't, you ought to give it a try again if you can. It is a really, really fun Soulcalibur game. I believe that the amount of money you earn at the end of the Chronicle is greatly increased based on the number of coins you get. But it's kind of pointless because I already have max gold, so yeah, I can't earn any more. I'm at 99999 something something. But so it's just basically for bragging rights of how many coins you get now. Kira has glue, which we've seen before. It pulls you in. She is usually not very hard, and the last couple times I've been saying that, and she's totally owned me. So we'll see how she is today. That's Soulcalibur 3 Chronicles of the Sword in a nutshell. On any given day, any character can decide to do nothing and let you wail on them. And on another day, they'll decide they're going to go all out offensive and take you out before you can do anything.
Battle 1. Fight.
Bad Kira. Good Kira. Good and bad Kira.
How did you enjoy that dance?
I don't think she enjoyed it very much. Okay, now this one's almost over, and then we have 3 to go. We're hitting into the home stretch here. The other guy I fought right before Sophitia is Mega. He's the most important character in your party because he uses a katana. So you can do Swordmaster strats, katana sword strats, even without a samurai or a Swordmaster in early, when you're first unlocking the game. So in MCO, I still stick to this strat because everybody else is too out of the way to worry about. But it's definitely good that he's in my path, so I unlock him and get him back because that makes the last couple Chronicles a lot easier. Okay. So this boss here, Aeolus, is Arion's brother apparently, even though they're from different kingdoms. But he is the second really tall boss we have to fight. Again, you can totally recreate this guy in custom character, except that they'll be normal size, while this guy is tall for no reason. Oh yeah, having 5 characters and only 3 total strongholds to destroy is a lot faster. It's a lot slower on 100% when I take every tower and stronghold, because there's quite a lot that I skip in this one. But this one's nice, and a nice little break from the last one.
Battle 1. Fight.
Also, he is all unblockable, and I don't care. And the fan.
Don't hold back next time.
Yep, that was the first marathon I'd ever streamed at. Thanks, Slow. So this is only the second. Well, yeah. But it was, you did give me the very finale in the wee early hours of Monday morning. Okay, final battle against Abelia. Abelia is the good soldier, and even if it's us, like her best friend, she's still going to fight us, and yes, actually, that is the strat. Forgot that I was doing Soulcalibur percent for a second. So pull a few guys this way. Our Soulcalibur character this time around is Siegfried, who is a knight, if you couldn't have guessed that. So he's reasonably tough. Luckily, this is a map that isn't too long. However, I have to be careful with it because if I lose my main character, again, I lose this Chronicle and I have to restart it. One of the annoying death... Oh, that's bad. I forgot about that. Oops. Oh well. That's going to lose me a little bit. This is one where my strategy is completely flip-flopped in SC percent versus any percent. Because the very top lane here, there's one juicy stronghold that's all I have to get through. And in all these, but in this one I have to go low. Take a dive. Most of them, actually. There are only 3 where you lose the main character, you have to restart the Chronicle. 14, 18, and 20. All the rest, you can lose almost all your characters, but you always lose and have to restart if you lose your main stronghold, or if you lose all of your characters. And then certain other ones have even bigger penalties. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Oh, oh yeah. Tina, you're giving away my strats. It's more fun to make them not realize. Oops, I got caught out. That's bad. There aren't any of them where you can lose and continue the story as far as I know. Anytime a Chronicle is lost, you have to restart the Chronicle. Also, shoutouts to Baldwin, the level 3 character. He's been neglecting his grinding duties. It's very weird that there's a level 3 character in the middle of here, like out of nowhere. But I think the reason for it is this is Abelia 2, and so Abelia's 2 fighters. She has 2 fighters that were with her in Chronicle 1 when he fought her the first time, Ishtar and Notice, and they're back again, but they're in their mid-30s instead of just a few levels. However, Baldwin does not look like any of the normal named characters, so it's my theory that he is also supposed to be one of Abelia's troops, but they removed him from Chronicle 1 for whatever reason. They decided not to have him in there, or they forgot him. And so when they called up his data for this Chronicle, it seems that they pulled the original data instead of upgrading his level or pulling the higher level one, however the data works. Yep. So it's just really hilarious that even the generic guys we've been fighting for the last many levels have been in their teens, and all of a sudden you're fighting a level 3 character, and it's just like, huh? Now, and the story I told is just what I suspect. I don't know for certain. I've never read an interview about it or tried to data mine or anything, but it just seems to make the most sense to me. I can't otherwise think of why there's a level 3 character in the middle of a zone where everybody else is levels 35 to 50. Just in case. Looks like he's serving as a nice distraction. That's actually really good. Sometime I ought to make my main character Baldwin. Or make one of my characters Baldwin. Go ahead and copy his look, name him Baldwin, and have him go through and be my primary guy and who defeats Strife and all. That'd be fun. That's a good assumption too. He probably was a peasant who was just compelled to conscripted out of nowhere. He does get a participation trophy. Baldwin percent.
Battle 1.
Siegfried! By the way, his secondary outfit, I really like his first one too, but his second one always looks more appropriate to me. He looks like a vagabond rather than a gleaming knight. Considering his story, he's supposed to be running around the Eurasian continent trying to hide Soul Edge. It does make sense for him to be in gleaming armor that says, "Hey, look at me!" Still a cool look though, but this is also a cool look, and as I say, makes more sense. Siegfried can be really tough because he's a knight, one of the 2 best classes in the game that are not Swordmaster. And he's got a pretty good AI, so he can be tough. I don't lose to him very often, but he can myrtleize you. Also, he has reserve offense up, which again makes him do more damage when his hit points are low. So if he ever gets away from me and starts hitting me when I've got him low on health, my hit points are going to drop real fast, especially considering how much damage his attacks can do, even base. You do fight Nightmare. He's the very last Soulcalibur character. He is actually, if you've been keeping count, he is the one left. And I'll go more into him when we get there. Not surprising, you haven't seen him this whole time, so. There's actually another thing about Nightmare that surprises me, but again, I'll go into that next Chronicle when we meet him. Yes, she's the one I want. Okay, this is one of the cooler strats I use. Only the main stronghold is left that needs to be completed here. But the minute I start attacking it, most of the enemies are going to want to come back and fight me. I don't want to fight them. So, by attacking this stronghold, this becomes a barrier that the enemies can't cross. You can't leave a stronghold by a way that somebody is attacking it. Now, you can start a fight prematurely. You can, the player can. But the AI will never start a fight from a stronghold. They'll wait until the stronghold is... its hit points are reduced to 0 and the decisive battle starts. So by plugging here, I just basically plug a hole, and these 3 guys who really want to fight me can't fight me. This guy, of course, is also blocked off. He has to get through another couple citadels before he reaches me. Also, I never pointed out, even though the rebels were purple, when we became the rebels, we didn't go purple, we instead went blue. I don't know why. Also, I don't know why our country is called Arceus, our imaginary country where we rebels are trying to create. Don't know where that comes from. They never really explain it. Not really. So, whatever. We're Arceus now, instead of Grandolph. Not to be confused with Arthas, the Witch King. Obviously, yes. I guess it makes sense. It makes as much sense as most things in the story of this game. So, Abilia 2 coming up. This is the second and last Abilia fight. Abilia 2 is annoying because of Guardian Force. Again, Guardian Force. We can't affect her with anything, except for attack throws, which are really hard to get off and not reliable, so I don't even bother. Luckily, her stats are a lot worse than Gerardo's, so she's a lot easier to kill. Bad news is, she has 2 minions with her that I couldn't prevent from joining the battle. I'll deal with that in a very special way. Also, I do love these banners that the different nations have. Arceus' banner is pretty cool, that blue Pegasus, or I guess it's just a horse head. Looks kind of like Pegasus horse, though. Also one of my favorite stages here, the final temple.
I will not lose against a traitor, even if it is you.
Battle 1. Fight.
How did that fit? We're about to see.
Battle 2. Fight.
I don't think you did it that time. But, you know, fighting Abilia was too hard. I don't have any energy left for the rest of the speedrun, unfortunately, so I'm just going to die out here. Yes, kill me faster. It's very annoying right now that ring outs aren't instant kills, as I have to ring myself out twice to die properly. But you've got to do it for the memes. Dying for the memes. Oh, come on. There we go. Yep. You just stare at where you are. Oh, thanks for the assist! Awesome! You're my new hero.
It can't be.
Oh, man. I lost. Yeah, this is probably the best music in the game. Really good music in this game too. Shoutouts to the music, underappreciated. But this has some great tracks on it, and that's probably the best one. So I lost all my characters attacking that stronghold. Oops, I didn't take the final stronghold. What am I doing? Chronicle clear. All you have to do in this chronicle is defeat Abelia, and because of the Guardian Force, that also affects those guys. They're really wimpy, but they're still affected by Guardian Force, so I can't kill them quickly. So it's generally just easier to suicide and win the battle that way. Okay, now, Abelia decides, okay, I'm going to help you out after all, and of all people, Luna appears again. Yes, Luna, who we fought 4 times. She's like, yeah, after the war, this annoying guy named General Gerardo saved me, and he was, keeping me for a while, and he was annoying and told me, if anything happens to me, you have to save Georges, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So she comes and joins us now. She's level 50, so she's a bit of a tank if you want to try using her. She actually has a little bit of use in the MCO run as a damage sponge. She also gives us, according to the story, Soulcalibur, so we can defeat Soul Edge. Yay! So the story sort of is in there. You don't actually get the Soulcalibur weapon, though, until after you win the Chronicles of the Sword, and then you unlock Soulcalibur for her weapon style, the Chinese Blade. We don't care about any of that, really, though. We're advancing on Grandal. This is the final capital. These 4 troops, by the way, the normal generic troops are here, and there are 4 of them. Take note of that, because the next time we see them, there will be 3. Also, this has a really long, winding southern route that's fun to go at casually. Another coin collector there. It's the only other coin collector in the game. Many ways into the Chronic Citadel. Over here is the ultimate boss in the game. End is a level 99 Swordmaster. 700 hit points, 300 attack and defense. He is really tough. But we don't have to fight him, so we don't. Yes, there is 1 Soulcalibur character remaining. He's down here in this poison spot. This is a very, very, very long chronicle on 100%. Not so bad on either any percent or SC percent, because I get to cut right through the middle and avoid most of the dungeons. Yeah, I think I offered it as a donation incentive, but it wasn't picked up. So, next time.
Decisive battle.
I thought I submitted it as one. Maybe I forgot, but I was kind of surprised that it wasn't in the list, because I was pretty certain that I did, but oh well. Somewhere along the lines it got lost.
In battle 1, fight.
I fought him so many times myself, I'm not super impressed by him, but I know that a lot of people had a lot of problems with him. So it's definitely a good donation incentive to see his clock cleaned pretty easily, because when I use strats like this, he's not actually all that hard. Which is almost the perfect kind of a super boss donation incentive. One that's like, this is the boss everybody struggled with, and oh, I was hoping she'd go off the edge. I'm about to die. Oh well. Not the most horrible place to die. I even have a level 3 stronghold near me.
Battle 3, fight.
Yeah, I was something was slightly off about that battle. Luckily, Hero Roms is here to clean up the mess.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
Alrighty. What is that? Meliadul? Yeah, you'll be the Nightmare Slayer. Meliadul, Slayer of Nightmares. Ramza, Slayer of Cute Fluffy Bunnies. No. Zara, Slayer of Cornstalks. Oh. Yes, just made it. I'd rather go ahead and fortify this for a quicker respawn. Closer respawn anyway. What time are we at? 8:30? This is a pretty good time. Okay, that's nice. Where's my... what am I... oh, there we are. Okay. One of the kind of nice things about this speedrun is that during these lull moments where my characters are just charging through empty strongholds, I can take the time to look at other windows on my computer and stuff. Also makes it pretty easy to read chat. Actually, I think I can do this, yes. Although it's slow. Wow. I have never had characters this close in level before. 30, 30, 30, 29. In Chronicle 19. That's really incredible. Of course, my main character's way ahead, but just because of the way the game system works, she fights the most. He. I always say she because I always have a female main character. This is great.
Battle 1.
He, George.
Battle 2. Fight.
Oh, that attack. Well done. You make me angry. Give me back some of your life. It's precious. For the most part, I am actually glad that ring outs don't insta-kill in Chronicles of the Sword, because while there are some moments where I ring out an enemy and it's like, if only that had finished him off, I have a lot of moments like that too, where it's like, ooh, he got a lucky ring out. Well, luckily I'm not actually dead. I have a chance to recover. Okay, now here. Whoops, no evil. Right. Okay, we're on George. I need to remember that. Okay, so Meliadul is going lone after Nightmare. Maybe we ought to have a second person go, but whatever. Too late now. Mostly. Nightmare is a barbarian. He is the second barbarian. You start with the barbarian Astaroth and end with the barbarian Nightmare. That's kind of sad because barbarian is, one of the weaker classes in the game. A very good starting class, but definitely a lot weaker than gladiators and knights. And the fact that one of the big bad figures of Soulcalibur lore is a puny barbarian, and he's your final Soulcalibur boss, makes it very anticlimactic. It may have given too many great swords to knight, but they should have made him a knight. So you have Siegfried and Nightmare, the two knights, very powerful classes, last ones to fight, and would have had them in a better rival relationship than Siegfried's the knight and Nightmare's the barbarian. By default, then, Siegfried's got a big leg up on Nightmare. Yep. I guess it's Ramza. I wasn't even paying attention to who it was. I'm just trying to get out of here before he reaches me. Yeah, especially the way they... it might be why they abandoned it in the later Soulcalibur games. I liked the effect overall. I think that they just should have had a lot more variety in the weapon type so that you weren't quite as hamstrung with the class if you wanted to use a particular weapon style. I mean, limiting it to 3 weapons for... limiting it to 3 weapons for the regular things is kind of okay. It gives a little bit of flavor without making things too wild. But having only 2 Soulcalibur characters, and each Soulcalibur character has to be a certain class, except for Kira, who can be a thief, is in addition to Assassin, because there's 24 spots and 23 characters. But, but if they had, like, each Soulcalibur character had at least 2 classes they could be, so you had 4 Soulcaliburs, then at the very least, you know, you wouldn't be quite as hamstrung. Every class might be guaranteed a higher level, each weapon might be guaranteed a higher level class that could use them. And that way, a lot of the Soulcalibur characters would also be more intimidating because they were of a higher level class. And that way, certain ones that seemed to cross a couple of barriers could be used. Like, even though Sword and Shield is the default weapon of Gladiator, none of the Sword and Shield Soulcalibur weapon types can be Gladiators. So, it's still slacking. You know, and again, with Chinese Blade is modeled after the Soul of Xianghua, and that's the default weapon of sages. But Xianghua isn't a sage, she's a dancer. So, totally different classes using those weapons. Die by air juggle, yeah. Okay, cool strategy, part 2, if I can properly direct myself. Once again, just like in previous Chronicle, by attacking that fortress by that direction, I prevent anyone from being able to get to me. Because normally now that I'm attacking the main stronghold, this person would come out to get me. But now, since I'm blocking the way, they can't. And I get to pound on that citadel to my heart's content. Yeah, that's a good description of it, Slow. I got a chance to read that backlog a little bit. But definitely, yeah, if a class doesn't have the particular weapon style you're looking for, there's no reason to use it. Okay, here's the Nightmare fight.
Decisive battle.
Hello and welcome, the Great Codman. How many people have said that, Slow? Either this isn't the Soulcalibur I remember, or this isn't the one I was expecting. I'm glad to surprise people. And I'm glad to make more people aware of the existence of this awesome game and game mode.
Be careful from now on.
Meliadul, Slayer of Nightmares. I have nothing to do with her now. She's done. Alright, now, final battle against Chester. Yes, Chester is back. He's guarding the gates to the Emperor's palace. He survived his last battle with us, and now has one last chance to redeem himself. Yep, Very appropriate, I would say. Tactics characters would make great guest characters in Soulcalibur. I mean, they pulled guest characters from everywhere else, including Geralt of Rivia now. Also, there were 3 guys I beat here. I pointed out there were 4 before. For some reason, one of the soldiers decides they want to hide inside the stronghold when we start approaching. Just one. The others run out to fight you. She runs back in to defend the stronghold. I don't know if it's actually intentional like that, or if it's just a weird quirk in the programming that was unforeseen. But here we are, final of 19. 342, wow. I have a very outside chance of PBing, actually.
Battle 1, fight.
The next Chronicle has to go absolutely perfectly, but I could actually PB.
You might want to rethink this.
Yeah, they always do, like in the city and stuff, yeah.
Battle 2, fight.
They actually gave his Chapter 2 costume as an alternate costume in Record Keeper, finally. That was kind of nice. Oh yeah, Chester. Yeah, he's a level 60 Swordmaster. And he's blocking well. But he's trash.
You might want to rethink this.
He wasn't very punishing, but he was trying to prevent me from getting a PB. Only 93 wins for my Dancer? That's a surprise. Usually I'm up to about 100 by now. That means they went to other characters though, so they're higher level, which is good. It'll be hilarious if I miss my PD by like a few seconds, and it's because I decided to read. There are a couple things I could blame it on, but one of them would be deciding to read out the text to Chronicle 16. Strife. He took a step forward. Okay, strategy change. We're going infantry now. After all this time on Bandit, now we're going back to infantry. Da-da-da, got it once. Da-da-da, got it twice. Little tricky maneuvering here. Da-da-da, which saves me a few seconds. Thrice. 4 times. Perfect. And hardest bit of order doing in the game right there. Perfect. So, now we just sit back and watch. A lot of guys stand in our way. They don't move anywhere, so by just charging forward, we gang up on them 5 at a time and watch their health drop, since we're infantry. Bandits, we would get cleaned up, all 5 of us, by one person. No level up is actually faster. Slightly sad, but faster. This is really intense hands-on gaming, let me tell you. Level up for, who's that? Ramza. So normally, when I just go, I usually get pushed to the left and fight this guy, Noel, who has 150 more hit points than the guy I just killed. And then finally, after playing the game 100 times, I realized, you know, it's a little bit trickier, but if I go to the right and fight him, that'll save a few seconds. Now, this is something you've never seen before. A character with purple light. Acacia has 894. Strife has 887. The only characters in the game with purple life bars. Nope, not true. End also does, actually. You will see purple life bars on your Swordmasters if you level them up into the 90s. It is a strategy game version of Soulcalibur. One of the things that makes it interesting. Ooh, I lost a character. That's kind of bad. And it was Ramza too. Rip Ramza. Very unusual that I lose a character. It's kind of random who gets hit. I didn't get nearly enough hits on my main character. That's really unusual. I want her to absorb most of the damage. Ooh, somebody was untouched too. Zara. Zara is going to be our hero because she's untouched. You have about 3 minutes. Go. That probably kills my chance at a PB too, losing a character there. Even if it's just one fight, it slows it down enough. What is my PB? I think it's 49 something. So, still an outside chance if the fight goes really well. Okay, who's next? Meliadul, and then Akari. Yeah. I would much rather have been Akari or Jara who got wiped out. Instead, Jara the Thief will be our champion. A victory for Citroens everywhere.
Final battle, fight!
Good.
Fight!
Oops. Yep. Yep. No PB.
It can't be. I lost.
Are we gonna get the cool dialogue from Strife though? That'll make this worth it. No, he's too high. He gained too much life back. When he gets low on life after defeating one of your guys, he comes out and he says, "No, I can't die, save me!"
Final battle, fight!
Did I do it? Did I do it?
Oh, jeez. This is still a really good run. I am not at all sad that this run, I really didn't think that I'd get anywhere close to PB, especially with Chronicle 11. But most of the other Chronicles were really great. I didn't die in a lot of bad ways. There we are. There's the line, and I just skipped it. It's like, no, save me. Of course, things will get interesting if he quickly kills Akari. We may end up seeing, we could very well end up seeing the cutscene. I almost never lose two characters to Strife. I usually beat him in the first go. But he's being really tenacious, like a cockroach. There we go. That's it. Time.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Yeah, I reset. PB. Oh, that was time. Back of the death. So that was something like 351. Stay. Stagger. Ugh. So now we'll watch the ending credits, which are about a minute and a half long. That's a really good time, though. That's like my second best time. That is really good. And walks away without saying a word. Well done, George. You are the hero we needed. Now, this dialogue's good. 349.50 was my PB.
Emperor died. Both the evil blade and the
Emperor
holy blade
died.
disappeared into darkness. The empire collapsed, and the people were left only with devastated lands and the
Alrighty.
memories of the terrible war. The people, however, eventually
anytime.
forgot the hardships.
We're good then.
They
Thanks for
rebuilt
watching,
the
everybody.
razed villages and
Thanks for
sowed
having
new
me for this
seeds
really
upon the
big
destroyed
marathon.
fields.
And I look forward to the next time I get to do this.